Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if neglected Naruto trained by Tobirama part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Naruto was sprinting through the thick forest floor of the northern forest surrounding the Leaf Village with his black shirt torn and painful expression on his face as his 7-year-old body was falling apart, as he was bleeding from the multiple cuts along his body. However, those cuts were the last things on his mind as the overwhelming rainstorm overhead was soaking him to the bone, causing the blood from the wounds continually flow as it refused to clot, seeing as Naruto was moving as fast as he could to get away. Getting away from what? Better question would be, what would he stay for? As he grew up, he faced terrible conditions from the abuse of the village, from the overpriced food which was nothing but scraps fit more for homeless dogs than humans. Or should he stay for the sights? To drink in the glares and hate from the villagers as he walked down the streets they shared? To feel ostracized for something he could never grasp and could never change because all he knew, he never did anything wrong. Locked away in his tiny room in the dusty attic of the orphanage as potential parents came by because he was a monster who should never be loved, beaten by the same caretakers that fussed over another child if he or she got a scrape on their knees. Eventually, the sight of celebration for someone else's birthday did not even stir a feeling of jealousy within him. How can the people around him be so two-faced? The same mouth that sings out in joy for another spits and curses him. The same hands that push children on the swings push him to the ground only to beat him for living. The same eyes that behold the beauty of the world surrounding them open in amazement only to close as others ignore his broken form. The same ears that listen to the rustling of the leaves in the still mornings become deaf to his cries in a nearby alley. Too lost in his thoughts, he failed to notice the large roots sticking out of the ground, and he fell in the middle of a clearing in the forest, allowing the undying rain relentlessly poured down on his small frame as if they were the physical embodiment of his painful memories. He gripped 2 handfuls of the grass beneath him as he struggled to continue on. Just a little more, just keep going. To where? A small voice in his head replied. It was that same voice that just wanted him to give in, just to accept what was going on in his life. That was the final straw as the sensations of rapidly passing memories of pain flew by, the storm roaring over him. Hazy outlines of past abusers in the rain approached him as his mind was breaking. He gripped his overwhelmed head with his small hands and roared out to the storm in pure anguish. Stop! 7 years ago. Minato Senju was pacing around his office wondering how he was going to pull off this impossible task. The greatest of the 9-tailed beasts was getting closer to the village, and with every second, shinobi were dying to stall it, and here he was without a solution how to stop it. Unfortunately, he did not receive his great-grandfather's wood bloodline to restrain the beast, but in the end that would not stop it completely. The only thing he found out was that it was impossible to kill a tailed beast, seeing how it is living concentration of chakra. It is however possible to kill it once it has been sealed inside of Jinchuriki, only for it to be reformed after a few years of slowly gathering its chakra. But how was he to create a seal strong enough to contain the greatest of the Bijas, seeing as the Kyuubi sat on top of the hierarchy uncontested? There had been a few notes about Jinchuriki and Biju, but the only thing he got on the Kyuubi was that it had never been sealed before due to its immense power causing the host, inanimate or living, to break apart. Thank you very much, asshole, for telling me that I can't put the strongest living being in a fucking teapot. Then he found something in the forbidden section from the Uzumaki scrolls. At the user's command, the Shinigami performs the sealing by dragging the target's soul into the user whose stomach is branded with the seal's mark. However, the sealing is double-edged as the user's soul is devoured by the Shinigami along with the target's soul, both souls trapped for all eternity within the fiend's stomach. So this technique should work. But I will have to sacrifice myself to do it. Shaking his head as he returned to the Hokage's desk, Minato delved into his research with new vigor, and after confirming that it was indeed a sealing ceremony, he started to make adjustments. Since it was a sealing, it should be possible to control where exactly the target was to be sealed. He knew that if he sealed the Kyuubi into an object, it wouldn't work due to its overwhelming power being far too strong to be locked in a teapot like the Shikaku. If an animal was used, the Kyuubi would take control over the animal, since no animal has the mentality required to keep it at bay nor the chakra to enforce the seal holding the Kyuubi back. The only possibility was a human. Ideally, he would seal it in himself, then drag them both to hell, but he wasn't sure if the Kyuubi had so much power that would allow it to escape the Shinigami's clutches. Any other adult was out too, seeing that an adult's, even a child's chakra network was too small to handle the immense chakra. It would have to be someone with unset and growing chakra coils. The only thing that could handle the sudden influx of chakra was an infant. Minato felt a sudden pang of pain. He would not have hesitated for a second to sacrifice his own life, but to drag an innocent life into this. Especially since he knew that only 2 babies would be born in time for the sealing, his own. How could he even consider taking someone else's child? What could he say? Sorry, but I couldn't bring myself to sacrifice my own child even though I'm the Hokage. Sucks to be you. Yeah, like I could be so cruel as to do that to a parent. Kushina was pregnant with twins and her water had broken a few minutes ago. He was going to have a son and a daughter. And he would have to seal the Kyuubi into one of them. Even if another mother gave birth early, Minato knew that he couldn't ask anyone to give up their child if he was not willing to give up his. So the only bitter question was which one to seal it in. Seeing how he would be splitting the Kyuubi between himself and his child, he decided to choose giving the power to his daughter, hoping she will be strong without having her father in her life. He spent the next 3 hours designing the seal that would hold the Kyuubi, before heading to Kushina, his heart heavy. Kushina held her babies in her arms, smiling at both of them. Naruto looked just like his father with his tuft of blonde hair and crystal blue eyes, while Ai was her spitting image with purple eyes and red hair. They were crying, and honestly she couldn't blame them, as she could feel the Kyuubi's dark and ominous chakra in the air. Sure, it's okay. Don't worry, Daddy will find a way to save the day, that's what your daddy does best. Naruto, Ai, it'll be fine. Tsunade, who had returned to Konoha to help her stepdaughter Kushina give birth to her grandchildren, had her doubts about her son stopping the beast, and she could see that Kushina's confidence in her husband was not absolute either. Speak of the devil, there he came, with an expression appropriate for a funeral. Minato looked at his wife, knowing this would be the last time he'd ever see her. He forced himself to smile. Hello Kushina, how are you doing? Are the children all right? Kushina gave him a weak smile as the birth took a lot out of her. Ai-chan and Naruto-kun are just fine, and according to Tsunade, I'm out of the woods. What about you? Did you find something? Minato nodded. I researched, and found out that while it's impossible to destroy the Kyuubi, I can seal it away. I know the jutsu and I've already designed the seal. Kushina smiled, relieved. That's wonderful, darling. Why do you look so down? Minato wished he could keep quiet, but he knew that would not only betraying Kushina, but that it simply wouldn't work. Still, how do you tell your wife that you will die sealing a monster into her child? Well. Tsunade looked at him sharply. There's a catch, isn't there? She had always been sharp, and as a medic, reading people was child's play. Yes. There are two. Kushina looked at him. What are they? Minato gulped. For the sealing to work, I need to sacrifice my life. Tsunade felt a sharp pain strike her heart, while Kushina's eyes widened as tears brimmed her eyes. No. She whispered. Tell me it's not true. Minato glanced at her. I can't. To seal the Kyuubi, I need to summon the Shinigami. Kushina sobbed. It's not fair. After all we've been through, after all we've lost, after the war, now that we finally came this far, it just ends like this. Now that we finally have children, they will never know their father? It's just not fair. Tsunade looked at her son as she whispered her next sentence. Was that the other catch? Minato couldn't look her or Kushina in the eyes. No. He finally whispered, his voice sounding as if he had been gravely injured. Kushina was not really paying attention. After this news, what could be worse? Tsunade asked. What is? Minato stared at the floor, his voice trembling. The only thing that can hold, that could hope to keep the Kyuubi at bay, is he paused, having to gather all his strength not to break down in tears as an infant. Kushina stared at him, wide-eyed. Then she pulled her children closer to her chest. No, she stated, her panicked voice steadily increasing in volume. No, you can't. Not them. No. I won't let you. Not our children. No. Minato slammed his fist into the wall, tears now running down his face as well. Do you think I want to do this? He shouted, before taking a deep shaky breath. Kushina, I've looked through every possible source. I've searched everywhere. If I seal the fox in an object, the object will break. If I seal it in an animal, the fox will take over. If I try to take it down with me, it may escape me, because of how much chakra I would have to pull in myself. And nobody with set chakra coils could possibly survive the sealing. There is nobody else, Kushina. He grew quiet, small sobs escaping his lips. There is nobody else. Tsunade hesitantly patted his back, trying to comfort her son in his last moments. Tears streamed down her face as yet another person in her life was going to die, and she could nothing to prevent it from happening. This once again showed her that the title of Hokage was more of a burden and a curse than anything else. Here stood a man, a loving husband and fresh father, who had to not only sacrifice his life in his best years, but damn his own child to house a demon. After nearly an hour, Minato left the room with Naruto, Ai, and a broken heart. He knew that he had to do it, but that didn't make him feel any better about it. If anything, it made him feel worse. Minato stood on Gamabunta's head, staring at the fox who destroyed his life and the village. He sighed. You ready, Gamabunta? The large toad snorted humorlessly. I am not a miracle worker, but I will do what I can. Thanks. Tell Jiraiya-sensei to get you a large bottle of sake, my treat, Minato stated. The toad nodded. Well then, let's go. With a mighty leap, the toad charged the possibly most dangerous beast on the planet, using his sword to deflect an oncoming tail. As Gamabunta was defending against the QB, Minato had already readied his Hiraishin to flash away the beast and was flashing through the last hand signs as Gamabunta took to the skies with another massive leap and landed on top of the 9 tails. Minato, go! Minato had already finished his signs as he jumped off of Gamabunta and onto the head of the Bijou and flashed to the forest away from the village. Staring down the beast, he summoned a ritual altar for AI and placed her down as he guarded Naruto. Minato flashed through the seals for the Uzumaki Kenjutsu. Shiki Fujin. He felt like his chest was encased in ice as the Shinigami's arm shot out of his stomach, grabbing the QB who was desperately struggling while Gamabunta kept it from escaping as a brightly glowing inscription formed on both AI and Minato. The QB was now helpless as the Shinigami was ripping his chakra and his soul out of his body. Damn you, fourth! Minato slowly turned around and looked at the Shinigami, who was also looking down to him. Are you prepared? The deity asked. Minato opened his mouth. Images began to flash before his eyes. His village. His wife. His son. His daughter. The images changed. He saw his hopes for the future. First he saw his village, glistering proudly in the sunlight. He saw Kushina smiling at him in front of their compound. He saw his children growing up, first as children, then young teens. He saw himself and Kushina giving them advice on the shinobi life. He saw them, now older, at their weddings. He saw himself hand the Hokage hat to his children. He saw his grandchildren sit on his lap while he told stories of long-past wars. He finally saw himself, now as old as Sarutobi, laying in a bed, surrounded by his precious people, peacefully closing his eyes. Unlike many shinobi, Minato's ideal death had never been to die in a brilliant display, fighting an equal if not superior foe like his great-grandfather or facing unbeatable odds to buy his comrades time like his great-granduncle. He wouldn't mind going that way, mind you, but his dream had always been to die peacefully of old age with a smile, surrounded by his loved ones. It wasn't fair. To have everything stolen from him, just when life had finally started to look up. He could stay tough, but facing a true demon, Minato, knowing it would make no difference, chose honesty. I'm not ready. This statement, while seemingly so easy to make, was the hardest thing Minato had ever done, including choosing to use his children. He gave up his ego, his pride, his image as the fearless, confident leader and revealed his true self. A man who was afraid to die with so much left undone. Where was his courage? His resolve to offer his life as the Hokage? The iron will and passionate love for his village that made him running into more than one hopeless situation with guaranteed death? Where was that passion that had driven him in the library to search for a solution, no matter the cost to himself? Gone. Vanished under the cold gaze of a demon that stripped away all falseness, whom could not be deceived. The Shinigami looked at him, his inhuman face betraying no emotion. Then very well. Minato blinked. It couldn't really be that easy, could it? What? The inscription on his stomach suddenly disappeared. He was confused until he heard a poof behind him. Naruto was now on a similar ritual altar as AI with Minato's old inscription. Naruto! What are you doing? Your soul is still mine, however, because I am not taking your soul now, I will also not take the Bijou's soul, so rather your other infant shall have it sealed with him. With that said, the QB's chakra was sealed within AI while his soul lived unsealed within deity looked at him with soulless eyes that froze any outcries in his throat. I am death. Everything dies. It makes no difference if I take you now or in 100 years. Eventually, you will die, and as our pact, your soul will be mine. I am patient. I can wait. With that, he vanished, leaving a baffled, slack-jawed Minato behind. Minato quickly ran over to his children only to find AI peacefully resting as Naruto was crying. A red haze covered the bright red seal on Naruto's stomach as his naturally smooth face grew whisker marks signifying the sealing of the Bijou's soul. No, not my son. Minato whispered as he looked on to what he believed was his now possessed son. Damn you, Shijinami! Take me instead! Shocked sobs escaped his lips as he went to hold his son but pulled his arms away. No, he is no longer my son. It's all my fault. Minato then walked over AI and picked her up as Kushina rushed over with Tsunade and Hiruzen in tow. Minato-kun! You are alive! She slowed down, wondering what was wrong when she noticed the whisker marks on Naruto. Naruto, my baby! Minato, what happened? Kushina rushed over to pick Naruto up off the altar when Minato wrapped his arm around her waist. Kushina, it was my fault, I was a coward, and now our son what was our son bears the Kyuubi's soul, he said with a shaky breath, as he could not even utter the words himself. Kushina began to cry into Minato's shoulder and held on to her daughter for the life of her when Tsunade came from behind and wrapped her arms around the crying pair and offered her condolences. So to shall this pass. That was what Jiraiya said when Dan died, but I was too filled with grief to understand what he said at the time, but I understood later. It means that both sad and even happy times will pass, so no matter how you feel now, time will change it over time. And it's all my fault. It will all be okay. Meanwhile, Hiruzen Sarutobi was headed over to Naruto as he steeled his heart to kill his successor's child. He lifted his large bow staff to crush his head when he was stopped by a sudden yell. No! But unexpectedly it was Minato who stopped him, not Kushina, who was looking away and ready to let her ex-child die. We do not know what will happen if we willingly kill the Jinchuriki. It could terminate my contract with the Shizunami and kill both of us, Minato said as he called over a silver-haired Anbu to hand Naruto over. Minato-sensei, he is your... No, Kakashi, he is not my son. My son died because of my mistake, put this thing in an orphanage. His name was Naruto Uzumaki. Kakashi bowed his head and swiftly picked up Naruto and proceeded to give him to a nearby orphanage. Come Kushina, Kasa and I have to address the village what happened. The reunion had been shocking and heartwarming, lasting nearly an hour before Minato decided he couldn't leave his villagers in the dark any longer. He took his daughter in his arms and smiled. She looked exactly like her mother. He stood on the tower, looking down on the masses gathering below, cheering for his victory. He smiled. People of Konoha, we have won. Thanks to our many brave shinobi, I have managed to find a way to defeat the Kyuubi. It will no longer be a terror to our village anymore. The roars were deafening. Minato raised his voice. But not I alone am the true hero. The heroes are all those who bravely faced the Kyuubi. All the shinobi cheered even louder. Then Minato spoke again. Nor am I the savior of Konoha. The true savior is right here. He lifted Ai up, so that everyone could see her. The Kyuubi was extremely powerful, and because it is immortal, nothing can truly kill it. However, this girl is keeping it locked away where it can never cause harm again. She is the jailer for the most powerful Bijou, and she will make sure that we can live without fear. I present you the savior of Konoha, my daughter Ai Senju, given to us by beautiful wife Kushina Senju. There was a moment of silence, then the applause and cheering rose to new heights. Their great Hokage had stated that the girl, his daughter no less, was a hero who kept Kyuubi imprisoned forever, so it had to be true. The few yelling something about killing the demon were swiftly pulled away where the truth was beaten into their heads. Minato felt mixed. He was glad that his daughter and wife were accepted, but he also felt awful knowing he did not deserve these cheers and that his son needed to die for him to live. For a moment he had wished the Shizunami would come back and take him instead, but that would have been selfish, seeing he would be leaving his family behind. Kushina would have had an uphill battle to get her own daughter, and Ai could have grown up with a terrible childhood, seeing as the villagers would be unable to tell the difference between the jailer and the prisoner. And even though revealing both his marriage and status as a parent might have been risky, Minato was not worried. He had stared both the Kyuubi and the Shinigami himself in the face and had somehow managed to make it out. What human did he have to fear? Iwa and Kuma would be too worried that if they attacked his daughter, her parents would retaliate and bring back the humiliating defeats the war had brought to them and their countries before. As the sun rose in the east, beams of sunlight struck on Minato and his family. The pain that the previous night began to wash away. Yeah, the future looks bright, Minato thought as he smiled at his family. Meanwhile, Naruto was crying in the shadows of a dark nursery with nothing but an empty room to listen to him. The next day, village council room. Ugh, after all the excitement of yesterday, I had forgotten how unbelievably boring this job is. Minato Senju now was seated in the Hokage's chair as looked out to the semicircle of his advisors and the clan heads that made Konoha strong through yesterday's crises. Amidst the small talk, Minato was ready to just go back to his wife and children. No, child, fuck. Attention. At his call, all discussion came to a close. He then began to talk about the issues of rebuilding the village and distributing out the labor between the clans and try to establish a general engineering plan. Ideally, the Hyuga would work with the Akimichi in teams to locate survivors and restore buildings. The Aburame would work with Inuzuka clan to re-establish the ecological biomes around the village. Lastly, the Nara would help with the engineers to rebuild the village, whereas the Uchiha would be defending the village from any invaders who thought Konoha was weakened from the Nine Tails attack. Well, I believe that covers everything, so please return back to your families and let's get the village back on its feet. Minato proceeded towards the door when the tapping of a familiar cane reverberated throughout the room. Minato, however, heard it and was regretting the upcoming conversation. What, Danzo? He could hardly hold back the snarl from his face as his eyes did not betray his emotions. Danzo, on the other hand, could not care less about the icy demeanor of the yellow flash, not now when he had an agenda. Speaking of family, I would suggest you hand was all he could get out before Minato had immediately flashed behind Danzo, ready to slice his throat if he finished that sentence. Finish that sentence, Danzo. So you want to take away my child from me and raise her to be one of your emotional weapons? Say it right now so I can add your death as a part of the Kyuubi's death toll. Minato had said that as a whisper, but it could be heard loud and clear in the council room. Danzo on the outside looked calm, as this was not his first near-death experience, but inside his mind was looking for a way to get out of this mess. Danzo slowly removed Minato's kunai away from his throat as he began to speak again. Now, Hokage-sama, you did not let me finish my sentence before you became uneasy. Now what I was going to say was that you should hand over your son. Minato looked shocked, as did the rest of the council. Oh, you did not think you could keep it a secret for very long now, could you, Hokage-sama? Yes, one of my root agents followed your ANBU, delivering your other child to the orphanage in the southern part of the village. Now why would our great leader not let the village know of his other child? Unless that child was the real Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails Bijou. Gasps filled the room as Danzo continued. How pitiful. You think you can offer people hope by claiming that your daughter holds back the beast, but in reality you could only split its being between both of your children, leaving your son to bear the beast's soul while you would have the power of the Bijou under your thumb to enforce your rule as Hokage. Minato quickly took control of the room as his chakra flared to unbelievable heights, showing the immense power of the Senju clan. No! I would never do that to the village. The will of fire burns brightly, but there are some places that the flame cannot reach. What I mean to say is that Naruto, who was once my son, is no longer what Kushina and I made together in love. He is now what the Shinigami and I made together in cowardice. No one in the room could even take a breath as the full implications of what the Hokage said were digested. Minato turned toward the council with tears streaming down his face. It was my fault. I failed to understand the jutsu. I failed to protect the village. I failed to protect my family. I failed the loves of my life because I was inadequate, because I did not have the courage to sacrifice myself when it came down to it. I can't look Kushina in the eye knowing that I killed our son and that he is still alive, mocking me as the beast wears my son like a new cloak. Hokage-sama, why not just kill him? I can't. I want to so badly, but I simply can't. I have no idea what would happen. I already lost my son from my ignorance. I can't bear to make another mistake. Theoretically, it would begin the revival of the Bijou, because once the Jinchuriki is dead, the soul will escape the body and begin to reform and absorb chakra until a few years later it is at full power, and we would have another invasion on our hands. Minato turned his back to the council members and walked out the door, but as he was going to close the door behind him, he stopped to say some parting words. There are times as a parent when you realize that your job is not to be the parent you always imagined you'd be, the parent you always wished you had. Your job is to be the parent your child needs, given the particulars of his or her own life and nature. I know that I will never be perfect, but god damn it if I won't love my daughter that much more and defend her from whatever this cruel life throws her way. Most of you all have children, so I know you must feel the same way, so hold them as you would the whole world, because to them you are their whole world. He left, leaving an emotional council as all the members bowed their heads thinking about their little ones. After the love for their children passed, only their hate remained. Hate for the world that their little ones will face. Hate for the pain caused to their Hokage, who was just as much of a man as they were. Hate was born from this immeasurable love for their children, and Naruto would be the scapegoat that would bear it. 7 years later. The blunt force of a kick jarred young Naruto's senses as he was slammed through the door of his tiny attic room. Your dinner time is up, monster. Don't come downstairs until you have learned your lesson. Naruto, however, could only nod as his vision was still blurry from the heavy blow. After the door closed, Naruto pulled up to the cot along the far side wall and pulled away the chunk of wood that was covering his super-secret project. Naruto slowly pulled out the knife he stole from the kitchen moments ago and began picking away at the hole in the wall. Hours passed as the metal knife began to dull and Naruto's glassy eyes began to close in his weak state until he finally caught a glimpse of sunlight peering through the tiny hole in the wood. That's it, just a little bit more. He began to rapidly widen the hole any way possible to where he could see the sun begin to set behind the Hokage mountain. One day I will get out of here and find Hokage-sama. He will save me. Naruto whispered as night fell and he replaced the wood chunk covering the hole and collapsed into the cot. He simply was too weak to maintain any continuous labor, as the caretakers always gave him the minimum necessary to grow and not starve. This all started about the age of 3 when he noticed how he was treated terribly. Once he could walk, he was basically on his own. He would have to sneak food to eat later, stay away from the other kids, and never go outside. He learned that last one really quickly when one day last year he thought he would go outside and play with the other kids at the park. 1 year ago. As he began to run toward the park, he failed to notice the hostile glares and the whispers of the people around him. "Isn't that the demon boy? I heard he was locked away at the Konoha Correctional Facility. We have to tell the others that he has escaped." Quickly the street dispersed as Naruto made it to an empty park. "Where is everybody?" A 6-year-old Naruto yelled out, wondering if they were playing hide and seek. "We are right here, demon boy." He turned around to see a mob of civilians with any weapon they could get their hands on, ranging from torches to wooden bats. Now Naruto realized what was going to happen, since he could feel the negative emotions rolling off the crowd. He knew. He knew but couldn't move. "Come on, move, please move." The previous years of abuse began to forcibly rip through his mind, making his legs clamp up, rooting him to the ground he was standing on. Naruto then remembered a story he overheard one night in the orphanage after dinner. This is a story about a hero that saved the Hidden Leaf village from an attack by a viscous beast who truly risked his life defending the village, a noble man with a burning will of fire. A true story, one that will never be forgotten. He never hesitated despite the approaching threat. He fought to the end to protect what was precious to him. This is a story of a hero we all love. Hokage-sama defeated the Nine Tails and sealed it away in his own daughter to save us all. In the words of the Sandaime Hokage, a hero bears longing, brings hope, even if you walk into the jaws of death, even if you're faced with crisis. Let your will burn ever brighter, fight for those who believe in you, that's what a hero is. Even as days pass, and the past is replaced by the future, that name will remain as solid as rock, leaving its traces in the new age. A name is once more inherited in this world of chaos, that's what a hero is. A new wind carved into history, its name is me. Naruto roared as he sprinted past the mob and headed toward the large tower in the center of the village. He had no idea why, but it just felt as if the hero of that story was in that tower, ready to save him from his pain. His bare feet were hitting the ground as fast as he could. He smiled, looking at the tower now and coming into view until the first rock whizzed by. That name will remain as solid as rock. The next rock slammed into the back of his head as he stumbled. Leaving its traces in the new age, the crowd pulled out their bats and began to swing down on his small frame, leaving large welts. A name is once more inherited in this world of chaos. The crowd cheered as they hurled insults, calls of demon, and curse Uzumaki rained down on him. Naruto looked toward the tower to see a figure in white standing on the edge of the tower. My hero. That's what a hero is. The figure slowly turned around as Naruto was pulled deeper into the mob, as he could no longer see beyond the faceless abusers. A new wind carved into history. The bat delivered a mighty blow to his lungs as all the air left in them was spewed onto the ground with blood. Its name is... Naruto could not even blink before the last blow cracked his skull. However, he could finish the story since it was ingrained in his heart. Minato Senju. Naruto's body flailed about as the blows did not stop even after he lost consciousness. It did not stop until the ANBU came and dispersed the crowd. They delivered the boy to the hospital to make sure he did not die. After that, Naruto came to in his attic room with bandages from head to toe and a throbbing head pain. He did not, however, give up, because one day he was going to be a hero just like Minato Senju. He was going to become something the village could not ignore. Present day. Today is the day I find Hokage-sama and I get out of here, Naruto thought as he woke up from his night of clearing out the hole in the side of the wall. Now to get the rest of the stuff. Naruto quietly tiptoed to the door and slightly opened it to look for any of the caretakers nearby. Seeing none, he silently crawled along the hallway, making sure that he was as low as possible to avoid being seen by the bottom floor through the stair railings. He made it across without being detected, and he opened the door to the coat room. Nice. He grabbed the thickest ones made of animal fur and grabbed a solid blue scarf fit for an adult along with a large roll of duct tape. Naruto got back to his room and began to form his escape. The orphanage was in the southernmost part of the village, so it was going to be a long way to get to the tower, and people would immediately recognize him, so he would have to stop along the way and blend in with his long blue scarf around his head. Luckily, the orphanage was only 2 stories tall, but that fall for him would injure him or be fatal, so he wrapped his body in the coats with the duct tape until he looked like a multicolored blob. Now the fun part. Naruto sighed and got onto his stomach to crawl out his hole. He removed the wood chunk and pulled himself through, but as he was enjoying the breeze of the clean air rushing through his nostrils, he suddenly realized that he could not fit through the hole with all the coats around him. Come on! Come on! He gripped the side of the walls, ignoring the pain of the splinters shooting under his fingernails, and squeezed through the hole without the coats, thanks to the light rain that began to fall. He fell but landed in the large pile of leaves right under the hole he made. Wow, what luck, looks like this will work out after all. What stinks is this rain though. Storm clouds began to form overhead as Naruto started his journey to the Hokage Tower. Along the way he noticed that there were people jumping from rooftop to rooftop going at speeds his 7-year-old mind could not even imagine. He saw them head to the tower wondering how they were doing it. He, however, was running out of energy, so he sat along the road when he noticed a cute redhead with vivid purple eyes around his age being led by an older redhead clone. But Ka-chan, I am going to be a ninja soon. I can walk down the street by myself, the little girl said indignantly as she was trying to squirm out of her mother's firm grip and walk alongside her, avoiding the growing puddles. Ai-chan, we have to get out of the rain before we get your new clothes for the academy wet. Naruto at this point, however, had heard enough. He was not affected by this show of motherly love but by this academy where he could learn how to become a ninja just like the Hokage. With that in mind, he rushed in the opposite direction past the daughter-mother duo. What he forgot, however, was that his scarf was no longer covering his entire head but only from his nose down. Kushina only had a moment when she noticed the scarf fall partially off the little boy in the street. However, that was all she needed to see: a glimpse of blonde hair and crystal blue eyes that looked exactly like her husband's. In her shock, she failed to stop him as he blew past her in a black shirt with a red Uzumaki swirl on the back. Was that Naruto-chan? Kushina could no longer see him, however, due to the storm picking up and buffeting her eyes, preventing her from seeing Naruto anymore. She was pulled out from her thoughts as a small hand pulled her along. Come on, Ka-chan. We have to get out of here. The storm is ruining my clothes. Right. Kushina, however, was not thinking clearly to comply with her daughter's request. Am I seeing things again, but it felt so real? Kushina then picked up her daughter and shoo-shined back to the compound to get out of the growing storm. The storm raged on as it seemed the elements were against Naruto from reaching the tower. I did not come all the way out here for nothing. An incredible feat of physical energy, he burst through the storm and barreled into the wooden doors of the tower. Alright, I'm in. Now to get to the top. Naruto rushed along the outdoor stairs, spiraling along the outside of the building, trying to maintain his bearings so that he would not get blown off. The storm picked up and Naruto felt as if he was being sucked into a tornado. Just a little more. My story can't end here. Naruto roared right back at the storm as he unintentionally used his chakra to blast forward through the doors ahead. What he failed to notice, however, was the rain that was once pouring down had momentarily stopped until it continued on once he was inside. He was now sprinting toward the large wooden doors in his soaked clothing and his damp scarf that was wrapped along his head, revealing only his fierce blue eyes. I'm here. I'm really here, thank Kami. Naruto ran past the yelling secretary and opened the door to a sitting Minato who was filling out paperwork in his Hokage robes, looking as young as he did 7 years ago. Hokage-sama, I tried to stop him but he ran right past me. Minato, however, waved her off, not minding this child coming to see him. He was suspicious, however, as to why a child would go out in this weather just to see him, but he did not think too long on it. It's fine, I am sure I can spare some time for him. The secretary smiled and closed the door behind her. So what did you want to talk about? I want to become a ninja, Naruto replied excitedly while Minato just chuckled at the young boy's enthusiasm. Well, let me see this future defender of the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto looked embarrassed and began talking amiably as he took off his scarf. Well, of course. So I heard that there was some academy where I could learn at, and I could become super strong and save princesses, and Naruto's speech was coming in and out from Minato as he sat there taking in what looked like his son. What, he looks so much like me. And he looks malnourished, and what's with that bruise on the side of his head? Did he run away in this storm? Why? Minato was tittering between just staring at his son and picking him up and taking him home just to be a real family again. He bit his lower lip as all he could see now was himself standing in Naruto's place, and the Shinigami floating behind him and asking the question again. Are you prepared? The Shinigami said to the phantom Minato standing in place of Naruto. I am not ready. The real Minato knew where this was going and flashed in front of what he believed was his old self about to make the same mistake and charged up a Odama Rasengan to stop himself from ruining his family. Hokage-sama? Naruto whimpered when he saw his hero come charging at him with a violent jutsu that looked ready to kill him if the vicious look on his face told him anything. At that moment Naruto knew whatever belief he had in this man was stripped away at the sight of giant swirling ball of chakra ready to kill him. He knew that it was now true: no one liked him, no one truly cared. I guess this is where my story ends. I never was much of a hero anyways. Naruto closed his eyes and fell forward, intentionally falling into the path of Minato's giant Rasengan, but rather than landing on the deadly jutsu he fell into the arm of Minato. He looked up at him with soulless eyes as Minato could not believe what he was about to do, nor could he believe that Naruto was going to kill himself. Good thing I stopped him, because I could have killed myself in the process. Yeah, that's it. Please, please just kill me, I am too weak to resist. Please, Hokage-sama. Naruto whispered to Minato as his world collapsed around him. Minato could not look at his son and pulled Naruto away from his arm as he walked toward the window to look out at the village. Do you truly want to be a ninja, Naruto Uzumaki? He said after a few moments, as just saying his name was foreign to his tongue. Yes, now more than anything. I don't want to be weak. I want to be something, anything other than what I am now. I want to be a hero. Something the village can't ignore. Naruto finished as his body was trembling from all the memories of his weakness flying by in his mind. Minato looked down at his feet, wondering what he should do. I don't know. If I let him go to the academy, he could just be using this as an excuse to gather power and attack the village as my son. But Minato turned back around and looked at Naruto, who was on his knees crying his eyes out, whispering please over and over again. He could not stand to see Naruto like that. He could not stand to see his son groveling at his feet like a dog. The academy starts in a month's time. I will make sure you are signed up for it. Don't be late. Naruto looked up at him with tears in eyes and swore he would become something great. You won't regret this, Hokage-sama. Naruto then ran out of the room, excited that he would be starting the academy and becoming a ninja so soon. I hope I made the right choice, however. An ANBU agent who lost his family in the Kyuubi attack heard everything and left in a shushin to get his friends and right this situation. Leaf Village Street. Whoa! I am going to be a ninja! Naruto yelled out into the storm as he was too excited to care about being wet. I'm going to be a ninja! Ninjas don't care about being wet. Naruto continued his way to the orphanage until 4 blurs prevented him from going past them. As he got closer, he recognized the figures quite easily, as he just spoke to the blonde one only moments ago. Hokage-sama, what's going on? Shut up, demon boy. I only refused to kill you in my office so your blood would not stain my floor. But what about the academy and me becoming a ninja? Naruto cried out. That was all a lie. Now do what foxes are good at and run. The other ANBU jumped into action as they threw shuriken at him, and the hinged ANBU just smirked at the horrified face on Naruto. I knew it was too good to be true. Naruto, however, could only mumble what he said since he was too busy from dodging the lethal weapons. He ran north, trying to lose them in the forest. Leaf Village, Northern Forest. Naruto was now sprinting through the thick forest floor of the northern forest surrounding the Leaf Village with his black shirt torn and painful expression on his face as his 7-year-old body was falling apart, and he was bleeding from the multiple cuts. However, those cuts were the last things on his mind, as the overwhelming rainstorm overhead was soaking him to the bone, causing the blood from the wounds to continually flow as it refused to clot, seeing as Naruto was moving as fast as he could to get away. Getting away from what? Better question would be, what would he stay for? As he grew up, he faced terrible conditions from the abuse of the village, from the overpriced food which was nothing but scraps fit more for homeless dogs than humans. Or should he stay for the sights? To drink in the glares and hate from the villagers as he walked down the streets they shared? To feel ostracized for something he could never grasp and could never change because, as far as he knew, he never did anything wrong. Locked away in his tiny room in the dusty attic of the orphanage as potential parents came by because he was a monster who should never be loved, beaten by the same caretakers that fussed over another child if he or she got a scrape on their knees. Eventually, the sight of celebration for someone else's birthday did not even stir a feeling of jealousy within him. How can the people around him be so two-faced? The same mouth that sings out in joy for another spits at and curses him. The same hands that push children on the swings push him to the ground only to beat him for living. The same eyes that behold the beauty of the world surrounding them open in amazement only to close as others ignore his broken form. The same ears that listen to the rustling of the leaves in the still mornings become deaf to his cries in a nearby alley. Tears streamed down his face from the memories of his childhood only to be lost in the uncaring rain. It seemed even Kami could care less for this little boy as he tried to escape from his pains. He even tried talking with the Hokage, but it seemed he was always too busy, or when he did talk to him, he would only say something about how the villagers would eventually stop or how they will grow to love him as he would be defending the village, but he refused to even look at him, usually over him, or even through him. It was during these talks when he realized that no one would ever love or even care for him. Too lost in his thoughts, he failed to notice the large roots sticking out of the ground, and he fell in the middle of a clearing in the forest, allowing the undying rain to relentlessly pour down on his small frame as if they were the physical embodiment of his painful memories. He gripped 2 handfuls of the grass beneath him as he struggled to continue on. Just a little more, just keep going. To where? A small voice in his head asked. It was that same voice that just wanted him to give in, just to accept what was going on in his life. That was the final straw as the sensations of rapidly passing memories of pain flew by, the storm roaring over him. Hazy outlines of past abusers in the rain approached him as his mind was breaking. He gripped his overwhelmed head with his small hands and roared out to the storm in pure anguish. Stop! Then the unthinkable occurred. The rain suddenly froze midair, as if someone had hit the pause button on a movie. Naruto looked wide-eyed at the immobile rain, and reached out to touch a large raindrop when a sudden loud rumble of thunder broke him of his trance. He jumped back as the rain then continued to pour down on him with such intensity that it made it nearly impossible to see, and with such speed that it began to hurt him as he continued to run away, seeking shelter from the storm. Naruto could not see and was too tired to continue walking, so he collapsed face first into the soft grass. Well, it should have been soft, but it felt as if he hit his face on concrete. Ah, what was that? Naruto rubbed his face to get the water out of his eyes and removed the dirt covering what seemed to be a solid concrete circle, like a sewage drain cover, with a strange symbol in the center. This looks weird, maybe it's covering something? Naruto's small fingers wrapped around the edges and he moved the concrete covering slightly with all he had. He noticed that it was covering a hole that led to a tunnel underground. I wonder what's in here. Well, whatever it is, I need to get out of this storm, so I'm going in. He put his arms behind his back as he tried using his legs to push the rest of the cover off until a few seconds later there was enough space for him to fit in. Naruto jumped down and rolled when he hit the bottom, which was about 8 feet from the top of the hole. He continued on into the darkness until the tunnel widened and candles flickered on as he walked to the center room where a large scroll was sitting on a table next to a weird-looking sword. Whoa, that armor looks so cool! Naruto ran towards the mannequin wearing armor emblazoned with the Senju symbol worn over a simple black suit, with a distinctive white fur collar. This armor was constructed from numerous blue metal plates, formed into multiple protective guards along the body, in particular, chest, waist, groin, lower behind, shoulders and upper arms. This clothing was accompanied by sandals and a hapuri engraved with the Konoha emblem, in the place of the more traditional forehead protector. Naruto did not know it, but in his weakest moment he found the armory of his unknown ancestor. Naruto spent a few more seconds to examine the armor until he went over to the table with the scroll and the sword. He decided to wait to open the scroll until he explored the rest of the area, so he looked around and noticed there were 3 doors on each wall surrounding the main room. He went past the table with the scroll and the sword and straight into the room behind it, only to find a small bedroom for one with a large closet and a nightstand with a lit candle on it. Well, that wasn't as exciting as I thought, but it's way bigger than my old room. He closed the door and looked to his left and then his right to see which door would have something cooler behind it. He then just shrugged, knowing it did not really matter which door he opened, if so he headed to the one on the right to find what he guessed was the training room. The room was weird to say the least. There was white tiled floor with holes in it surrounded by water on all sides and trenches forming a sort of moat. He also noticed that there were 3 training logs in the front of the tiled floor set in a staggering pattern. He decided to take a closer look, so he took off his shirt and jumped in the trench in front of him and swam the short distance to the floor. It was not until he hit the first tile that something went wrong. The poles began advancing on him, and he began to move to get out of the way when they continued to move in a set pattern, so he was able to avoid them quite easily. "Hey, is that all you got?" He would immediately regret his words when the floor underneath him began to rumble and water began to shoot out of the holes, randomly keeping on his toes. "Come on, I didn't really mean it." Things got serious when he slipped and the hole nearby shot out and skimmed his arm and created a small gash along his arm. He recognized how powerful the water coming out of the holes was, so he quickly decided to get out of there. He bolted toward the exit when the other half of the training floor folded up, making a wall pointing all the holes at him, ready to jet the highly pressurized water into his back. "I can't reach the door in time, I need to do something." Naruto turned to face the wall when he noticed that the jets of water were already on their way to kill him. "I hope this works," Naruto roared out at the incoming jets, and slammed both of his hands together, interlocking his fingers, which pulled the water from the nearby trenches to create a water wall, preventing the jets from attacking Naruto. That was awesome. He dropped his hands and watched as his water wall fall and the floor readjust itself. He decided that he had enough excitement for the day and headed out of the training room. Shaking his head to get the water out his ears, he put on his torn black shirt that was lying next to the entrance to the room. "I really need some more clothes." Naruto walked across the room towards the last room, only to find the mother lode, figuratively speaking. "Look at all these scrolls." Naruto was now giddy and ran to the cabinet with clear glass doors and several shelves of scrolls. He took a handful and pushed all the other notes on the desk nearby off to the side. He opened one to find Suetun, Water Dragon Bullet. Naruto was excited since it sounded really powerful, but realized he had no idea how to even attempt it. What is elemental manipulation? Wait, 44 frickin' hand signs? I don't even know any of these, why are they animals anyways? Naruto huffed, knowing he was going to have to learn all the basics before he could try to learn the more advanced techniques. Now where was he going to learn all this stuff? Suddenly he got it. The library. But I can't go out like this. Let me see if there is something in the bedroom. Naruto entered the bedroom to find the closet only to open it up and find nothing but a rack of long-sleeved black shirts with white fur collars. This is seriously all he wore, sigh. What was I going to expect a closet full of clothes for a 7-year-old? Naruto closed the door and began to walk out the armory when he remembered that he did not read the scroll in the main room yet. He approached the table and began to unravel the scroll only to find what would shock him. This will most likely be my last message to pass on, seeing as we are entering the peak of the war. I plan to take my team along with a few extra ninja I can trust in. If I can't tell anyone before I die, I want Saru to become the next Hokage. Saru, if you are reading this, protect those that love the village and those who believe in you. Nurture those to whom you can entrust the next generation. Likely at the end of the next mission you will be the next Hokage. Saru, take care of the hidden leaf. To anyone else that has found this place, friend or foe to the hidden leaf, know that if you came here for power you will not find it, for my power never came completely from my own skills but rather built upon the principles of a clan of water wielders greater than I. The Uzumaki clan and the Senju have always had close ties, seeing how Nai-san got to marry Mito Uzumaki. Nai-san was always a fool, considering the first time they met he had to make a wood-style joke that did not go well with the elders, but somehow he made her happy, so I guess he came through for the clan in the end. Thanks to this marriage the clans came closer together. However, the clans were naturally too different to exchange jutsu due to the fact that the Uzumaki's bloodline was activated in only a few people at the time, and only I and the clan could follow in their footsteps thanks to my unnaturally high water affinity. However, only Nai-san was able to manipulate wood, and few in our clan had a unique skill to share with the Uzumaki, so the treaty was just a show for a peace that had been there decades before. However, it was unfortunate that none of our clan learned the Uzumaki seals. So those who come here in search of power will find themselves empty-handed with nothing other than my material possessions that are useless to me now. Know that my soul lives on through the techniques I created alongside the Uzumaki, and those who wield their great power will become strong in body. But to be strong in the mind one must realistic by nature, a logic-based personality that leads him to believe firmly in laws above anything else in terms of keeping peace and order, must be strong-spirited, and passionate like the water they wield. Tobirama Senju. Naruto just stared at the scroll in his hands as rage built in him. What, wait, the Senju and the Uzumaki were close? Then why? Flashbacks of Minato charging at him with his Rasengan, and the day he was beaten in the street, and seeing his hero turn away from him when he needed help the most. The countless times he wished he could escape from the orphanage. That night after he made the hole and he collapsed, feeling like when he would meet Minato he would save him from all his pain. Then the lies he gave in his office only to chase him in the storm and try to kill him. Is it because I'm a demon? Is that why they abandoned me? Is it because I was weak? Was it because I was worthless? Naruto grabbed the sword of the Thunder God and charged it, ready to destroy the scroll and anything in reach. He stopped just inches away from the scroll. Lightning was crackling violently, ready to destroy anything in its way. No, this is how I will grow strong enough to shove back the greatest revenge, his massive success, and be greater than they could ever be, and take what he loves dear. Naruto put the scroll on the table and balled his fist, swearing to himself to outdo any Senju through the powers of the Uzumaki, and the soul of Tobirama guiding him through his personal techniques. He was going to grow strong and become greater than anyone, even the fourth Hokage, held by everyone to be a hero. He walked out of the armory to go begin gathering power by first getting knowledge. Hours later, Naruto returned looking like a new person. He was wearing a short-sleeve royal blue karate gi with a light blue lining over an armor fishnet undershirt partially shown, as the gi was loosely tied by a solid white belt along with solid black pants. However, the most noticeable change about him was the seemingly permanently cool expression on his face as he entered the armory and into the library. He pulled off the backpack from his shoulders and held it upside down to drop all the books he had stolen from the library onto the tabletop. Beginner's Guide to Chakra Control, Understanding the Elements of Chakra Nature, History of the Elemental Nations. Naruto said out loud, going through a checklist that he thought was going to be taught at the academy as he looked through the library for the academy section for students who could not afford to purchase the books. His face held a smirk as he was glad that he had all these new books, seeing as the only thing he could really do in the orphanage was read, and books were rarely given to the demon. Naruto had to steal any books that were left around and hide them in the hole in the side of the room. Well, you got to start somewhere, but I believe the most useful one right now is the survival guide, seeing how I can't just continually slip into town for a meal run. Naruto propped himself in the chair next to the table, propped his feet on the table, and began to read late into the night until he fell asleep with the book on his face. The next morning Naruto yawned as he noticed that his candle ran out overnight, and got up and began to stretch his usual stretches to keep his body active when he was not allowed outside. What sucks about this place is that there is no way to tell what time it is. He left the library with the survival book in hand, along with a couple of kunai and a roll of wire string that he got from the same weapons store where he stole his outfit from. He took a deep breath of the fresh air of the northern forest, and enjoyed the rustling of the leaves as all he had heard all his life were the yells of others and the loud noises of the village. Well, let's hope I don't mess this up too badly. Naruto then proceeded deeper into the forest, determined to collect breakfast, or starve trying. Naruto looked for rabbit trails and found one after a few minutes and began to form his snare to place along the trail. After an hour there were multiple snares along the trails nearby as he sat in a tree overseeing the traps when he noticed a pack of rabbits coming to them. Come on, you dumbass, get into the traps, I'm so hungry. The majority of rabbits avoided the obvious traps, but two got caught by their feet. Naruto dropped down from the tree and tried to throw both kunai at the same time, but completely missed. He sighed, knowing that he would not suddenly become a marksman by picking up the kunai. He picked up both kunai and ready to kill the rabbits when he stopped inches away as he hesitated, as it would be the first time he would have to kill to survive, and he knew this only be the first time in a long future of death. He steeled his 7-year-old heart, and killed the both of them and prepared the fire pit to roast them. After breakfast, Naruto picked at the flaming coals of the fire, and began to wonder how he was going to fulfill his self-promise to become great when others had a head start with clan training. That's loser talk. I am going to be the best through hard work and become a legend as an Uzumaki. Naruto whipped off the dirt on his blue gi and headed to the armory to set up a schedule. This looks pretty good, I guess. Then again, I have never trained to be a ninja before. Naruto was sitting in the library looking over his schedule. 8 a.m. wake up. 8:15 a.m. hunting/breakfast. 9:15 a.m. shuriken and kunai training. 10:15 a.m. workout. 1. 25 push-ups. 2. 50-yard hand walk. 3. Jump rope 500 times. 4. 50 straight punches to training log each side. 5. 50 roundhouse kicks to training log each side. 6. 100 squats. 7. 5 by 50-yard sprints. 8. 2 sets of 90-degree sprints. 1 p.m. cool down and calisthenics. 1:30 p.m. shower and lunch. 2 p.m. reading. Beginnings of chakra. Chakra control. History of the elemental nations. Academy Manual on Taijutsu. Academy Manual on Ninjutsu. Academy Manual on Genjutsu. 5 p.m. Taijutsu training with jets off. 6 p.m. Taijutsu and evasion training with jets on. 7 p.m. meditation and chakra control exercises. 8 p.m. bloodline training. Manipulation outside of dangerous situations. Lifting water and shape manipulation. Moving streams of water around obstacles while maintaining shape. 10 p.m. sleep. Yeah, this looks okay until I can start classes and learn about channeling chakra through hand signs, and then I can start the jutsu in the library. Naruto said out loud as he felt tired and headed to the bedroom to get sleep because it was getting late and he had a long month before the academy started. He mentally reaffirmed his promise and fell into the bed after setting the alarm on the nightstand. I swear on the Uzumaki name I will make them pay for hurting me. 1 month later. As the alarm clock blared, Naruto's sharp blue eyes opened and he quickly turned it off. He slowly walked toward the closet and put on his gi and black pants, then proceeded to the full body mirror as he looked at his reflection to make sure he was ready. He slowly opened a jar with red paint and streaked his face with the paint the same way Tobirama did as he passed his unknown ancestors' coming-of-age ceremony, similar to the Uchiha yesterday. But rather than the clan symbol on his back, he wore the same war paint Tobirama wore as child, with only thin short streaks on his chin and cheeks. It is time. Naruto quickly left out of the armory and closed the entrance with the heavy cement cover, then quickly leapt toward to the academy, with his only thoughts being to be the best. To be greater than my peers. To show how great the Uzumaki clan is. To be something that can't be ignored. Naruto swiftly entered the village and went into the academy at his own pace, maintaining his cool exterior. He stopped in front of a busy secretary who was dealing with a mountain of paperwork to process all the new students and those returning for their later years. "Excuse me, ma'am, where do the first-year students report to?" Naruto asked calmly. She simply said a room number without looking up to see what child asked this time. Kids these days are always getting lost. How are they going to be ninja when they can't find a classroom? Bah, not my issue. Naruto walked away and headed toward the room as he was beginning to get nervous. Were they going to turn him away? Did the Hokage sign him up or not? These questions plagued his mind until a red blur sprinted by him, and would have bumped into if he was the same as he was last month. Sorry, but I am going too late on my first day. The red blur turned when she said that, and he remembered her from the day of the storm. So she is here as well, I wonder what that means. Naruto just shrugged, not thinking much on it since he had no idea who she was. Well, better get to class. Iruka was running through the attendance when he noticed 2 names were absent, and both were big names. Where is Hokage-sama's daughter and him? Iruka was going to mark them absent when the door suddenly opened to reveal a slightly out-of-breath AI Senju. I'm here, sensei. Toussaint just had some speech to give me about growing up so fast or some nonsense like that. Well, I am so glad you graced us with your presence. Iruka made an overdramatic bow which caused her to blush brightly. Seeing that he had embarrassed his student enough, he told her to sit down in an empty seat when AI looked up to see her best friend. Satsuki-chan, you're in here too. She quickly scaled the stairs and sat next to her best friend Satsuki Uchiha. They were best friends from since they were little girls, while littler girls, since age 2, because their mothers were best friends since they were together on the same genin team. They were both friends and rivals, seeing as it started over a year ago, when Satsuki passed the Uchiha coming-of-age ceremony by mastering the fire release, fireball jutsu, and would not stop showing off her Uchiha crest on the back of her black high-collared shirt. Of course, this caused AI to complain to her parents all day and say how Satsuki was getting better than her, and that she could not let an Uchiha outdo her as an official senju. Minato was caught off guard by her statement, but he could tell she was joking yet serious at the same time, so after a while he found her a C-rank jutsu on par with the fireball jutsu, and like the prodigy she learned it just as quickly, so the day after she learned it she went to show it off. Satsuki was wondering why her friend would bring her out to the Uchiha Lake when she noticed the big smile on her best friend's face, meaning she was up to something. She asked what was going on but only sighed with a small smile on her face as AI was talking excitedly about learning a new jutsu, but not telling her what it was. Shaking herself from her memories, she smiled at her overenthusiastic friend as she began to talk her ear off about everything from breakfast to her last training session with her mother. We are like complete opposites, yet I love being around her. She is like a sister to me since Nai-san is always too busy with Umbu stuff. Satsuki just began to nod occasionally during AI's one-way discussion on the wonders of ramen with stars in her eyes as the door slowly opened with a blonde in a loose blue GI that only made his blue eyes look even sharper than normal. Naruto Uzumaki reporting for class. He said smoothly in a relaxed posture, but Iruka could see that his eyes were sharp, looking for any aggressive behavior or deceit from his future sensei. Iruka looked a little peeved seeing that this was the second dramatic entrance which interrupting him from starting the lesson. Yes, Naruto, please take an empty seat so we can begin class. Iruka could care less that he was the rumored demon child, seeing as long he did not interrupt his class he could teach the other children in class. Naruto calmly walked up the row as he looked around to see a majority of the clan's heirs here, seeing as they all wore their clan symbol, making it easy for him. This is excellent. I will become the best of the best here no matter what it takes. He looked to the top right row where the redhead that he had seen before was pointing to the empty chair next to her, as the dark-haired girl next to her refused to make eye contact with him, but he did not think much on it. Is this seat taken? Naruto asked, and before he took it the dark-haired girl spoke up. HN. As if a commoner such as yourself could sit next to elites like us. Naruto gave an icy look to the girl who was looking out the window while the redhead was berating her friend for being mean to the new classmate, but even she held her doubts of a non-clan ninja. Don't listen to Satsuki-chan, she is just being mean, please sit next to me, there really are no other seats. My name is AI Senju and my amo girlfriend is Satsuki Uchiha. Naruto, who was facing a speaking Iruka with his hands interlocked trying to avoid speaking to them, began to grip his hands tighter together at the mention of the Senju. The first step to becoming better is to soundly defeat and dominate their rival. What luck that they are best friends as well. Naruto just grunted in response like an Uchiha, drawing a raised eyebrow from both girls, but they ignored the blonde boy until Satsuki decided to speak up again. What's with the red war paint? Are you trying to copy the Naidame Hokage? Yeah, what's with copying my great-granduncle? Iruka, however, seemed to intervene as he said they were going to begin ranking the students by a sparring tournament to begin with, then a kunai accuracy test to test how far along the class was before they begin the year. You will see soon enough, was all he said as he walked outside towards the sparring grounds. Meanwhile, the clan heiresses could not suppress their interest in the blonde. As soon as they all were outside, Iruka began calling out matches, however it would be until the clan matches that they would pick up. Kiba was running through the competition with his fast-paced Inuzuka-style taijutsu, whereas Sasuke would wait for the opponent and deliver powerful counters to their obvious openings in her interceptor style. The real story was AI seeing how she was swiftly defeating her opponents without even running out of breath with her taijutsu from the Senju clan. At the end of each other's matches, the Senju and Uchiha heirs shared a cocky smirk, knowing their clan training was taking them to the top, and it would be decided between them who would be number one. Iruka called both Kiba and Naruto to the sparring circle to get ready for their match. Kiba was bouncing on his toes, ready to beat another one of these clanless losers. Hurry up so I can beat you. I don't have time for losers like you. And I have to impress AI-chan and Satsuki-chan. Yes, our Inuzuka friend could not bring himself to choose one of the beautiful clan heiresses, so he swiftly decided that since he was an alpha dog he should get the best, and he should not have to choose between him. Naruto could see his excitement, and could hardly hold back his own, but he casually entered the sparring circle and assumed a taijutsu stance where he held both of his fists under his shoulders and held a 50-50 stance, creating a mental centerline dividing Naruto's stance in half. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Kiba Inuzuka. Ready? Begin! Iruka leapt away as Kiba charged at Naruto with a wide right hook as Naruto saw him coming a mile away. He calmed himself, and thought on the taijutsu scroll he found in the armory's library. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. If you put water in the cup it becomes the cup, if you put water into a bottle it becomes the bottle, you put it into a teapot it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Naruto met Kiba's right fist with a fierce elbow and traced Kiba's quick follow-up left jab with his other elbow. Kiba backed off a little to shake out the pain in his hands before he lunged out at Naruto, who had yet to move from his original stance. Water can flow. Naruto followed Kiba's straight punch and fluidly shifted his stance, bringing his left arm across his center line and moved Kiba's punch away from his body. Or it can crash. There. Naruto quickly delivered a 6-inch punch to Kiba's nose, causing him to get a bloody nose. Kiba instinctively lashed out wildly as his other hand went to his nose to stop the bleeding, but to Naruto it was already checkmate. He dipped under Kiba's wild punch and delivered a rapid series of blows to Kiba's stomach, causing him to hunch over. Naruto finished the fight by crouching down and delivering a powerful back kick to his jaw, sending him flying backwards and landing on his face to taste both defeat and the dirt. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. Iruka yelled out to bring the other students out of their trance at Naruto's elegant display of taijutsu. That stance and poise was top-notch. I have never seen it before. Naruto left his stance and headed back to the tree near the circle to wait for his next match. As he walked back, only one thing was on the Uchiha and Senju Eris's mind. He never moved from his original spot. This will be a good fight. The anticipation was in the air for them as they were excited to fight this mysterious blonde. Naruto could feel all eyes on him since he just soundly defeated a clan heir even though he was a non-clan student, which should not have been possible. This is what I wanted, it feels great, the fear and the anticipation for another fight. I am getting chills just waiting for the next fight. He did not have to wait long as Iruka called out the next match. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Satsuki Uchiha. Satsuki grunted to AI's encouragement and prepared to show her peers just how an elite defeats an opponent. They both faced off in the center when Satsuki decided to get into Naruto's head. You should give up now. There is no way you can defeat an Uchiha elite, especially me, a clan heiress. Naruto looked blankly at her, causing her to get her angrier at him. You know you never answered why you have the Nidaime Hokage's marks. Everyone looked to Naruto, even Iruka was interested in why Naruto was wearing the iconic war paint. He just sighed and assumed his stance, as did Satsuki in her interceptor fist. Show me the full power of the Uchiha clan, and if you force my hand I will show you the reason why I earned these stripes. Satsuki was angered by his statement because he basically said he was above the clan, and that she only might force his hand. I am going to beat him to a pulp for dishonoring my clan. Ready? Begin. Satsuki rushed at Naruto at a much faster speed than Kiba, so he had to move from his spot or risk being taken down too early. Satsuki quickly got inside his guard and delivered a swift punch to his gut, followed by an elbow to the back of the skull, leaving Naruto flat on his face. HN. I knew you were all talk. Iruka-sensei called the match, he won't be getting up anytime soon. Just as Iruka was going to call the match in her favor, he heard laughing from the previously thought knocked out boy. Haha, you really thought that it was over? Come. Now I know how soft your blows really are. As soon he finished that sentence, she rocketed with rage in her cold eyes toward Naruto, and Naruto sped right at her as well to begin a flurry of punches in the middle of the sparring circle. I can't keep this up much longer. I must show him the power of an Uchiha elite. Satsuki quickly disengaged and began hand signs for her jutsu before Iruka could stop the match. Snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. Here it is. Satsuki-chan, don't. AI yelled out, trying to stop her friend from seriously hurting her classmate. Fire, release, fireball jutsu. Satsuki released a large orb of roaring flame directly at Naruto, but when Iruka was about to jump and Naruto began to hold a hand sign. This is it, come on Naruto. Tiger. Water release, gunshot. Naruto released a similarly sized orb of water to meet Satsuki's fireball jutsu, which created a large steam fog in the sparring circle. Satsuki was in shock, not from her using a deadly jutsu but from the surprise that this no-name classmate could match her jutsu. Naruto decided to capitalize on her hesitation and sprinted across the steam fog and delivered a sweeping move to get her off her feet and went down to punch, but held it right in front of her face. Satsuki was looking right into Naruto's eyes when she noticed something. Those eyes, they are full of anger. At me? No, they are not for me, but for who then? Naruto got off of her and proceeded to walk off, leaving a stunned Satsuki being helped up by AI. Don't worry about it, Satsuki-chan, you could not have known he could use a water jutsu. I will get him for you the next time we fight. Satsuki shook herself out of her thoughts and nodded to her friend and bumped fists with her. Yeah, you better beat him, or you will give the Senju a bad name, and we might not get ramen after school today. AI suddenly got emotional at the thought of losing her ramen, but got serious at the end and gave her a confident smirk, showing Satsuki she had no plans of losing. Alright, last match. AI Senju vs Naruto Uzumaki. Come meet in the center, and we will begin the final match. Naruto took a deep breath and kept a blank face, but his eyes could not hold back his feelings about the upcoming match. I can't get caught up in my emotions or I will lose this match. Now I only have one more gunshot in me left, and maybe enough churka for my other jutsu if I conserve on the gunshot. Well, no use thinking about it, now it's time. There is no way I am going to lose. I have to defend Satsuki and my clan name. I don't know what Tusan would say if he knew I lost to a clanless student. AI's thoughts were on never giving up so she could live up to her clan name. Funny enough, Naruto's thoughts were similar as the tension in the air rose when they made eye contact, as if to say to the other that they were going all out. Irika, picking this up, decided that now would be the best time to start the match. Ready? Begin! Naruto and AI quickly got into the thick of it as Naruto had to defend against a powerful roundhouse kick to his head with both arms. Damn, that is some power behind her kick. Is this the physical prowess of the Senju? Naruto dropped down and swept AI's exposed leg and tried to follow up a punch, but AI let Naruto sweep her, and she twisted to both of her palms on the ground and gave Naruto a double kick that sent him flying to the tree nearby. Fuck. Ugh, it feels like I broke a rib or something. Before Naruto could get back up, AI began to weave hand signs to the jutsu she showed off to Satsuki at the lake that day. She closed her eyes as she mentally went through the signs to remember. This is it. Monkey, dragon, rat, bird, ox, snake, dog, tiger, monkey. Lighting, release, thunderbolt of Zeus. A large jagged thunderbolt came speeding at Naruto, and before he could dodge the thunderbolt, it pierced his shoulder and erupted in a giant show of sparks that made it difficult to look at the display of power. After the technique dimmed down, it revealed a beaten and extremely injured Naruto with random sparks of electricity coming out of him at different times. Oh my god, I am so sorry. AI ran over to the gravely injured Naruto and tried to do what she could, but she really couldn't do anything. I didn't mean to. I mean, I wanted to beat you, but not like this. AI had tears in her eyes, thinking she just killed her classmate, when Naruto underneath her tapped her head with both his pointer finger and his middle finger, and then directed her attention to another than Naruto right behind her with a flat hand to her neck, simulating a kunai if this were a real battle. But if you are there, then who is? The Naruto beneath her dissolved into water, revealing it to be a water clone the whole time. When did you? Naruto decided to interrupt her question because he knew what was coming. When you closed your eyes to remember the hand signs to your jutsu, I created a water clone to take my spot as I waited in the tree limb above you for when you would come over. He answered without taking his eyes off her. It's like he is only looking at me with those deep blue eyes. I mean, of course he would only be looking at me. I asked the question, stupid. Naruto walked away, balling his hand into a fist, letting blood flow through his fingers, completely ignoring AI's blushing face. I'm becoming stronger, good. The rest of the day went well for Naruto after the spars as he tried to be the best at the shuriken test, but he was simply too out of breath and too low on chakra to do how he usually performed, which caused his overall ranking to drop behind AI as she got a perfect score due to her large amount of stamina and training. However, he still edged out Satsuki, who got a better score in the shuriken test but lost in the spar, so she was chasing behind him in third. Needless to say, everything was going ideal for Naruto except the most important part of beating AI. This is bullshit. I should be number one. I won the spar, not her. Naruto could only glare at the ranking list outside the classroom, hoping it would burn to ashes by his look. He sighed and went back to the armory to eat and rest, as his chakra was as low as it had ever been in all of his training over the month. This did not deter him, but only pushed him on. As he left, he could feel the stare of a cold pair of eyes, but he refused to acknowledge them as he turned to leave. Satsuki-chan, I got first place. AI was running toward a fuming Uchiha heiress who could only ball her fists at the retreating back of Naruto Uzumaki. Damn him, if I did not hesitate I would have won, and he would have been at my feet like it should have been. I need to unlock my Sharingan, and then I will easily win, wiping that stupid expression off his face. AI had been talking the whole time about how she would hold on to her rank and how she would not lose to Naruto ever again, but stopped when she noticed that Satsuki was not listening. Satsuki-chan, forget about him. Come on, it was one spar, I bet next time we fight him we will definitely win. AI pouted but then held a victory pose to cheer her friend up. Meanwhile, Satsuki could not fight off the giggle coming out of her mouth at the ridiculous pose her friend was making. Yeah, you're right, AI-chan. Just some more training and we will show what it's like to mess with the best clans in Konoha. That's right. But first, the food of God's ramen. AI was pulling Satsuki by her hand through the school as she sprinted toward Ichiraku ramen. However, while her thoughts were solely on food, Satsuki's thoughts were on the blonde boy that beat her. Whatever, I guess I will ask Kanai-san for more training and show him his place. Hours later, Satsuki found herself at the usual stoic Uchiha dinner with her parents and her brother, but the silence was broken by Fugaku. So how was your first day of class? I heard they had spars for the first day to establish rankings. Mikoto was interested as well as Itachi but frowned when they noticed Satsuki was playing with her food. Satsuki-chan, do not play with your food. Answer your father please, we all want to hear about your first day, honey. Satsuki put down her chopsticks and mumbled out something that was unheard by the rest of the table. What was that, Satsuki Uchiha? I got third place. Satsuki looked down to avoid eye contact with her father. Well, that is inexcusable. Why in my day? Fugaku could not finish that sentence as Mikoto elbowed him in the ribs with her fully matured Sharingan turned on, daring him to finish that sentence, or face her wrath, which usually meant that little Fugaku would not see any action for a long time. Why don't you tell us what happened, honey? Satsuki looked up at her mom, who was looking at her kind eyes like her Nai-san while Fugaku was rubbing his sore side, and spoke up quietly. Well, there is this boy, and that was all she could get out before Mikoto brought her hands to her cheeks and talked excitedly. Oh, do you hear that? Fugaku-kun, our little sweetheart, has a crush, and so soon. I wonder when she will be bringing him around. Oh, I have to make plans and… K.S.N. It's not like that. However, they ignored her as Itachi got up from the table. Itachi-kun, where are you going? Mikoto asked with an overly sweet tone as she suspected what he was going to do. I am just getting my tanto cleaned before I go find this boy and warn him what will happen if he breaks my Yamato's heart. Fugaku was going to follow Itachi when a sudden tug on his sleeve told him to sit down. Now, Itachi-kun, there is no need for that this soon. I am sure she has not started kissing him yet. UKSN, you're so gross. Satsuki was definitely regretting bringing up this conversation. She took a deep breath and tried to think of anything that could calm down the table, so she said that the boy was able to match her fireball jutsu with his own water jutsu. This brought the table to a silence as they were intrigued by the 7-year-old with a water jutsu powerful enough to match the C rank attack. I got really mad, and before I could think, I got a good distance away from him and began to do it before I could stop myself. I could not stand the thought of losing to him after he insulted the clan, so I put as much chakra as I could, but he stopped it with a water jutsu the size of my fireball, and then while I was distracted he won by quickly following his jutsu like he knew he was going to beat my fireball. I am definitely going to see this boy and bring the tanto just in case, you never know. Itachi asked what the name of this powerful boy was, and what she said next shocked the table. Naruto Uzumaki, and Nai-san, I need more training if I am going to beat him. Satsuki finished as she missed the shocked face of her mother, and the raised eyebrows of her brother and father. Itachi. Fugaku got his attention quite quickly with his sudden serious tone. Begin to train your sister seriously. We can't let her soil the Uchiha name by losing to him. Itachi met his father's stern look with one of his own as he knew exactly what he meant. He glanced over to his sister's excited face and caved. This would be good for her to get stronger, but not for that reason. He nodded, which got Satsuki to quickly finish her dinner, and hugged her brother, thanking him for training him, missing her mother's and his sad look for his sister growing up too fast. Watch out, Uzumaki, I am coming for you. Meanwhile, AI was talking excitably to Kushina, who was setting the table and waiting for her loving husband to come back, about how she got number 1 at the academy. Ka-san, I got number 1. Oh, I can't wait to tell Tu-san. However, she did not have to wait long as she was suddenly lifted up into the air and swung around. AI was giggling madly as her Tu-san was spinning her around. What can't my little angel wait to tell me? He put her down and went over to kiss Kushina as she was putting food on the table. They all sat down at the table and were eating when Kushina decided to speak up. Honey, so tell us about your first day of school. Minato grew quiet as he looked down at his plate. Yeah, it would have been his first day as well. Kushina, sensing his sudden sad mood, squeezed his hand under the table and gave him a small smile, which was returned as if to say they still have AI. Well, I got number 1 in school today, but I lost my spar to this dumb boy. Kushina now turned to her with a sly smile and began to tease her. My, AI-chan, it's so soon for you to like boys. I guess I'll have to have Minato-kun draw up a marriage contract for you and this boy. Minato quickly picked up on this and sighed very dramatically. Oh, my sweet, sweet angel will soon leave me all alone for a boy, so I guess I will stop making my special ramen. AI suddenly grew wide-eyed and waved her hands incessantly as if to stop Minato from not making his special ramen. Tio Yurase, please don't stop making your ramen. I won't leave you for Naruto. At that name, all the laughing stopped so quickly that AI thought she did something wrong, so she tried to backtrack and spoke up. Yeah, Naruto Uzumaki was the name of the boy who beat me. He was so good. I mean, I need to train harder to beat him so I won't lose to him and fall for his tricks. How was I supposed to know I hit his water clone and not the real him? But Kiba and Satsuki-chan lost also, so it wasn't just me. I will train so hard that I will give our clan a good name and beat that no clan loser. AI finished as confidently as she could fake as she thought her parents were mad at her losing to Naruto, but she had no idea how deep she hurt her parents by bringing up their lost child. An image of the Kyuubi was behind their small child as if it was smirking over its new vessel. Minato's hand tightened around Kushina's until he heard his daughter whimper out his name, and he looked up to see his daughter looking scared at his sudden rage. He quickly went around the table as AI began to cry into his shoulder, mumbling about how sorry she was for losing her match, and that she would try her hardest next time. Minato slowed-rocked her, saying that it was okay and that he wasn't mad at her for losing. He mentally cursed himself as he knew that AI could sense his negative emotions. He had no idea she could until one day when he was depressed thinking about Naruto while she was 4. Minato was in the main bedroom moping while looking at the picture of him and his pregnant wife smiling for the camera with a signature at the bottom saying, "Looking forward to twins. Twice the joy. Twice the love. Twice the blessings from above." He would occasionally look at this picture, trying to overlook the sadness with the happiness of their expecting faces. He was brought out of his thoughts when his little girl came into the room and he put the picture away and whipped away tears in his eyes. "Honey, what are you doing here?" He picked her up onto his knee, and she pouted and brought her hand to his heart. "Tusen, why are you always so sad?" Minato tried to hide his shock as he questioned his daughter as to how she knew this. "Tusen, I can feel your sadness just like I can feel Ka-san's confusion when she doesn't know I'm losing." Minato knew at that point she had inherited Mito Uzumaki's negative emotion sensing and felt as if she should begin her training, so he told her how impressed he was and told her that he was going to train her to be a ninja. AI, of course, forgot about her father's depression and ran around the house cheering about becoming a super ninja just like her dad. Minato could only bite his lower lip and think on what AI said. "Kushina's confused? Oh shit!" Minato quickly rushed over to the kitchen and found Kushina cutting her palm with the knife she was supposed to be cleaning. He wrapped his arm around her waist, giving her a hug from behind and whispering to her that he loved her so much and for her to listen to the joy of their daughter. Kushina, however, could only stare at the cut she gave herself and let tears fall from her eyes. "Pieces of me are just gone, my name, my clan, my baby. I want to go away." As she started to move, she felt Minato's strong arms holding her, however to her they felt like ropes, and she struggled to be free to the point she was screaming to be free. Minato, however, just held her as her beating fists slowed down to nothing but a series of taps, and finally she passed out from another of her episodes. "I can't let AI see Kushina like this. I will leave her with Mikoto to see if she can help her again." Minato could only thank Kami that Mikoto was around to calm his wife down during these episodes. It was like she was the only one that could help her when she was dealing with the aftermath of an episode. So Minato quickly formed a shadow clone of himself and left in a flash to the Uchiha compound. AI came into the room only to see her smiling father and asked where her Ka-san was. He picked her up onto his shoulders and carried her down to the training room, telling her that Ka-san just need to get some groceries for dinner for tonight. AI eventually fell asleep under her Tusan's slow rocking and all the energy she expended today from the excitement of the first day, so Minato carried her daughter to her bedroom as Kushina followed right behind, smiling at Minato's gentleness. He laid her down gently on the bed, gave her a kiss on the forehead and went to the main bedroom, giving Kushina time alone with AI as she normally did. "Ka-san?" AI's eyes slowly opened to look at her mother, who was illuminated in moonlight of the clear night. Kushina pushed some of AI's hair behind her ear as if to non-verbally tell her to continue. "Is Tusan mad at me?" she said as she lifted the blanket to cover herself from the response her mother would tell her. "No, baby, we love you so much we could never be mad at you." "Can you tell me another story about the Mizukantarora clan?" Kushina gave her a small smile as she began to tell her stories of old. When AI was growing up, she would always ask her mother to tell her stories when she was sad, so Kushina told her stories of the Uzumaki clan but would instead call them the Mizukantarora clan, which means water controller, so not give away her heritage. Not because she did not want to tell AI that she was an Uzumaki, but for her to forget that she was an Uzumaki because now that infamous name was held by the demon that was once her child. Kushina, as much as she wanted to, could not bring herself to tell AI that she was one of these powerful Uzumaki because she never unlocked the bloodline and the name would associate her with the terror her old clan's members caused, because they were held as gods of water and were feared by all until they were eliminated thanks to a collaborated raid of Kumo and IWA Ninja. So she distanced herself from her clan's powerful past by keeping them as only bedtime stories to impress her daughter, and eventually make herself believe they were only characters in a child's story because raw power like that is too fearsome for reality, like the stories of Madara and Hashirama. Because power like that would tip the scales of the ninja world again like the days of old, and she hoped that her ancestors were the last of these gods. She could only pray that neither of her children got these powers to corrupt them. Because the world does not need more gods but families. Meanwhile, AI had fallen asleep during Kushina's retelling of the Mizu Kantorora clan preventing a tsunami on a defenseless farming village, while in her mind it brought back the story of the most fearsome of the Uzumaki summoning a tsunami to drown that same farming village because they provided for another clan during the time of the clan wars. But that was the Uzumaki, not the Mizu Kantorora. That power was for childish stories of superheroes, not for war stories of monsters. The power of a god was for the rotten corpses of old, not for the living of now. Kushina still held her fears that one of her children could have inherited this corrupting power. She brought her head to AI's heart, and could only pray that AI did not receive her clan's power, because she could not bring herself to lose another child to a dark power. Naruto-chan, please don't lose yourself to the power of the clan, please. Naruto jolted out of bed when he heard a voice in the armory, or so he thought, as he leapt out of bed to check out the rest of the armory. He eventually found himself in the training room and felt sudden rage clamp his heart at the plea of the ghost. He manipulated the water to surround a training log and closed his hand into a fist which caused the water to destroy the training log into nothing but splinters. His blue eyes were cold enough to phase blizzards as he stared at the shattered remains of the training log. The fearsome power of the Uzumaki was alive in Naruto, as he held the necessary rage to manipulate the raging torrents of this power. The power of a raging god of water was slowly building in him like the tides of the ocean receding before the great tsunami. And that tsunami would drown the Senju and all that stood in his way. 7 years had passed since that first day, but as they say, the more things change, the more things stayed the same. However, for Naruto, things only got worse. As soon as Iruka got his teaching assistant Mizuki, during his 4th year at the academy, his scores took a sudden dive and he refused to go to the Hokage for help, so he did it the only way he knew how. He got rid of him. Of course, it was not hard as expected to get a private audience with Mizuki, seeing how he quickly agreed for a late-night training session to help him improve his scores. Needless to say, it did not go as expected. Naruto was standing in his usual garb similar to Tobirama as he waited for Mizuki to show up. However, he did not have to wait long as Mizuki showed up in full gear as if ready for a fight. Naruto could only act shocked as he began his monologue. Mizuki. Naruto stared right into Mizuki with piercing blue eyes as if to say, shut the fuck up and come at me. He got the message loud and clear. Eat this demon. He threw the one of his Fuma shuriken at Naruto with such speed that he couldn't react in time to save himself. The Fuma shuriken was firmly lodged in his stomach as Naruto fell to his knees in shock at the surprise attack and looked as if he was struggling to get the large weapon out of his stomach. Mizuki quickly walked over to the still kneeling Naruto and began to laugh. This where you belong, demon, on your knees gasping for breath as I cut the head off your human vessel. Naruto just started laughing at Mizuki until he suddenly disappeared in a puff of smoke and leaving the previously lodged Fuma shuriken rattling on the ground without a single drop of blood on it. Mizuki was shocked at what he saw and quickly turned around to find a perfectly healthy Naruto standing behind him holding his hand in the shape of a gun with a drop of water at the end of his pointer finger. Yeah, Shadow Clone Jutsu, impressed that I know it? Well, don't be, I wouldn't want that to be your last thought. It should be this. Naruto fired his water gun through Mizuki's heart, causing him to grip his chest as he fell onto his back gasping for breath, as his heart was barely missed but the water bullet hit an artery causing massive internal bleeding, but for Mizuki it just meant a slow death. Naruto, however, seemed glad and began to talk as if he was having a discussion with the dying Mizuki. You know how people tell you that over 50% of the body is water? Well, it goes even deeper than most people think. You see, Mizuki-teen, when you reach my level of water manipulation I can force your body to go through terrible pain, and I needed to make sure I could do it, and of course I couldn't try this on myself, but thankfully you came along and tried to ruin my plans. Now follow along as best you can, seeing as you are slowly internally bleeding. Now where was I? Yes, water in the body. Naruto smacked his face and brought his hand to Mizuki's heart, shushing Mizuki as he grunted in pain. Now what you need to know is that 65% of the water in the human body is used as intracellular fluid, ICF, whereas the other 35% is used as extracellular fluid, ECF. Now intracellular fluid is your body's transporter for nutrients throughout the body, whereas the extracellular fluid is used to transport waste from the cells, see real simple stuff. Now even though there is a higher percentage of ICF than there is of ECF, there has to be a balance, or else the body would be all out of whack. Naruto tapped Mizuki's forehead to keep his attention. Now, as you may be feeling by now, your heart can't push out blood through the body, therefore you are losing feeling in your limbs, beginning this whole "oh I feel so cold" nonsense, which is really the point at which your body loses enough blood and you pass out, leading to the brain going last as you pass away in your sleep state. But you see, through the wonders of water manipulation we can change this process. You'll see, water can be so much fun. Naruto gave a dark smile and continued his monologue while maintaining pressure on Mizuki's wound to keep him alive for his test. You see, in that tiny brain of yours is the hypothalamus, which controls your hormones and maintains this important balance of ICF and ECF in the body, along with producing hormones for you to function. So while you are dying, you are still making hormones that control the flow of minerals in your body. So here's where it gets interesting. As I am now removing water from your body, your hypothalamus will try to produce more hormones to increase sodium to compensate for the loss of the electrolytes I am removing. When loss of water is disproportionately greater than loss of electrolytes, salt, the osmotic pressure of the ECF becomes higher than in the cells. Since water passes from a region of lower osmotic pressure to a region of higher osmotic pressure, water flows out of the cells into the ECF, tending to lower its osmotic pressure and increase its volume toward normal. As a result of the flow of water out of the cells, they become dehydrated. That was a whole bunch of shit just to tell you. Naruto looked at the suddenly aging human beneath him. I am forcing your body to quickly dehydrate at an insane pace before you die, making you feel as if you are as weak as an old man, feeling your muscles shrink around your crumbling bones thanks to the massive amount of ECF pushing out all the nutrients that your body thinks is waste now. Naruto finished in a dark tone as his eyes hardened to icy daggers and covered Mizuki's mouth to prevent him from yelling out. Mizuki could only rattle under Naruto's firm hand on his mouth, as his body's cellular structure was being destroyed. His body lost most of his previous weight, making him nothing more than skin and bones literally. His skin grew a dark gray and his hair thin, but the most gruesome feature was his face. His face was so thin you could see the blood vessels, and his eyeballs were exposed as his skin around them shrunk due to water loss. It was even more horrible than Naruto expected, as his once opponent was now nothing more than a dried-up husk. He quickly formed a shadow clone to remove of the body in the river to be crushed and sent along the current, as the original threw up violently on a nearby tree. He finished after a while and got the memories of his shadow clone crushing the body in the water, removing any evidence of his horrible experiment. Never again, no one deserves that. Naruto's body was shaking from his experiment turned first kill. He thought he would feel great killing someone that hurt him, but he was dead wrong as he looked at the amazing power he held, and suddenly began to fear himself. He who strikes terror in others is himself continually in fear. Naruto could only think of that quote from his training on the more deadly techniques Tobirama left behind. Damn, he is right, I am becoming scared of myself, but at the same time this power is what I need. So Naruto ignored his fear of his powers and embraced his rage on the Senju and the village as he left to the armory for the night. Naruto returned to the academy the following day looking as if nothing had happened, and it was just another day. The search for Mizuki was fruitless after 4 days, so the Hokage simply declared him missing. However, he still had his doubt that Mizuki could have just disappeared. That was the end of Mizuki, so that led to Naruto regaining the top spot in the class. However, his title would be challenged that year by the emergence of his rivals Kekkei Genkai. During the years of training with Itachi, Satsuki showed her unbelievable potential as she absorbed Itachi's training quickly and was able to unlock her Sharingan, reaching her second Tomo state, making her more troublesome, as Shikamaru would say. When this happened, she would not stop using her Sharingan in every match, obliterating the competition in the weekly tournament spars, that is, until she fought Naruto again with them on. Now I will show you the power of the Uchiha. Satsuki charged at Naruto as quickly as she could, knowing she was leaving herself exposed, but exchanged defense for speed, thinking that the Sharingan would be able to compensate. Foolish Uchiha Naruto quickly ducked under Satsuki's opening jab and delivered his rapid series of punches to her stomach and chest to the 11-year-old Uchiha heiress. Satsuki quickly went to the ground holding her stomach in pain, as all the fanboys were in complete outrage that Naruto would hurt their angel. You think that just because you have your Sharingan that it makes you invincible? Don't be foolish, you may be able to see where my hits will land but won't be able to react in time. Iruka declared Naruto the winner as Satsuki just gripped the dirt, glaring at Naruto's receding back. Damn him, I will put him in his proper place. Satsuki quickly got up, brushing off her fanboys, and got up to walk back inside the classroom when she looked back, making eye contact with Naruto's blue eyes that seemed to look at her as if she was a piece of art he was appraising. She quickly fought down the blush on her face and tried covering it up with an angry snarl, but it was too late. Naruto had already seen it. However, Satsuki's budding feelings were the last of his concern as he stared at AI from behind, thinking on what she just showed in the last spar of the day against Kiba. It seemed that the Mokuton Kekkei Genkai was alive again in the youngest Senju. Naruto could only be worried and excited at the same time. Now his enemy had received the legendary bloodline of Hashirama and was getting better at it, as it seemed that it was not the first time she had used it, meaning she had kept it a secret for quite a long time. However, I am far above both of them for the time being. Now if I only could do something about Erasure. Flashback. Okay class, we are receiving a new student, so please be kind to him. Now where is he? Iruka was suddenly interrupted as a large cloud of smoke emerged from the front of the classroom. But the better question is, who am I? Said the voice shrouded in the smoke, until it cleared to reveal a boy around their age with dark brown spiky hair, tan skin and brown eyes, with a long thin bow staff that looked more like a pole than a staff. However, the most interesting thing about him was the large monkey he was standing on. It is I, the apprentice to none other than the kami of Shinobi. I also happen to be the most handsome Sarutobi ever to have inhabited the elemental nations. The future Hokage and your new number 1 student Arashi Sarutobi has arrived. He quickly flashed some party poppers to his hand and let the confetti fall over him like he won a national championship. Seeing that no one was cheering at his majestic display, he turned away from the class and covered his mouth with hand. A sudden high-pitched voice broke the silence. Oh my goodness, he is so cool. Why don't we all praise Arashi-sama's arrival to our humble classroom, was all he could get out before Iruka slammed his fist into his skull, causing a large red bump to appear on his head, causing him to land flat on his ass, and the summon to shake its head before leaving. Iruka-sensei, that was not cool. Iruka could only get madder at his new student until he sighed and tried to rub away all the future headaches he foresaw. Iruka just told him to go sit down and pay attention to the lesson. Erasure quickly obeyed and went up the stairs and tripped on his way up. Unfortunately, it was right next to Naruto's row. Erasure got up into Naruto's face and started yelling at him. Meanwhile, Naruto just looked out the window. Hey! What's your problem, team? Naruto just turned to face a pair of brown eyes that seemed to be on fire. Do you ever get tired of listening to yourself yell? Naruto then ignored him, and Erasure was about to get back into it with him until he received a deadly glare from Iruka telling him to sit down and shut up. Eventually it was time for spars as the day was coming to a close. Erasure went straight up to Iruka and demanded that he fight Naruto, and wiped that smirk off his ugly face. Naruto of course heard this, as did the rest of the students. Immediately the students that were in between Naruto and Erasure cleared out of the way and began to whisper how the new kid was going to get beat by Naruto, since he was the current number 1 student and had yet to lose a spar in the 4 years he had been there. I accept. Naruto's voice silenced the crowd of students, and he made his way over to the sparring circle nearby. Meanwhile, Erasure was grinning like a madman and looked over into the crowd and saw a cute redhead talking excitably to an equally good-looking dark-haired girl. Excuse me, sweet roses, but if I win this match against your number 1 classmate, may I expect a kiss from you pretty girls? Naruto was growing tired of Arashi's childish actions and narrowed his eyes at his request. Erasure was getting dangerously close to getting on the list. Not the same list as the Senju in the village, but on the I want to beat the shit out of you list. Satsuki quickly got in front of AI, and her Sharingan was eerily spinning at the foolishness of this boy. You dare ask the 2 heiresses of the greatest clans for a kiss? Know your place, and there is no way that you would beat Naruto-kun anyways. As she finished her sentence, she quickly covered her mouth and looked to Naruto, whose only outward reaction to the familiar suffix was a raised eyebrow, but quickly turned away. God, that was so stupid! 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 Erasure quickly covered his heart as if a kunai had just struck it and slowly backpedaled to the sparring circle. Alright, let's get this started. Iruka just nodded and told them to begin. Naruto looked at Arashi's brown eyes to see all of the previous playfulness gone, and looked as if he was taking this seriously. Good, now come, monkey boy. Erasure seemed to disappear from his view as Naruto's eyes widened at his opponent's speed. He suddenly felt a firm fist punch him in the stomach and quickly substituted away. Damn, that usually gets them right away, but then again I could expect no less from the number 1 student. He pulled out his bow staff and began using the wild Sarutobi taijutsu that resembled an agile monkey. Naruto could not keep up as his taijutsu was dependent upon constantly maintaining his opponent's centerline along his. Damn it, this can't continue any longer or else I will lose. Erasure used his bow staff to vault over Naruto's head and tried to deliver a viscous downward kick to the skull. Naruto ducked and rolled away and distanced himself, only to find Erasure squatting on the top of his thin bow staff. His body control and speed is incredible. I need to limit them both right now. Ram Tiger! Water style, syrup trap! Naruto spat out high viscosity, chakra-infused water, aimed at the surface of the sparring ground between them. This stream of sticky liquid formed an adhesive trap, immediately inhibiting Arashi's mobility, seeing as his staff was now stuck in the syrup and he could not come down until he dealt with the now sticky training ground. Nice, but no dice. Erasure quickly formed signs that Naruto knew were for a fire jutsu, but he had no idea which one since it did not appear to be the fireball jutsu. This should dry up the field real quick. Ram horse snake dragon rat ox tiger. Fire style, dragon flame bomb. Erasure needed his chakra into flames, which was then manipulated into a genuine-looking dragon. He then blew out flames that divided to launch a left side, right side, and frontal assault in all three directions at once, threatening to turn Naruto into ash in a matter of seconds. That jutsu is only known to the third Hokage. Well, fuck this and no more holding back. Water style, water shockwave. Naruto quickly slammed his hands together and formed a spiraling vortex of water as tall as a twister. The vortex then proceeded to explode from the top into the form of a wave. Naruto then pushed out his arms to control the wave to meet Arashi's flame dragon bomb. Erasure, seeing the giant wave of water rushing toward his flame dragon bomb, pushed as much churka as his small body could force out, flickering the flames from their previous orange hue to a blinding white-hot flame. Naruto, seeing his opponent going all out, matched his intensity and roared into the rushing water, drawing in more water from the air to combine with his water shockwave, creating a tidal wave with incredible force behind it. Feeling the huge spike of chakra from the academy, the fourth Hokage, who was talking with Hiruzen, stopped and knew something must be wrong. Hiruzen suddenly worried as he sensed that it was his apprentice charging up enough chakra for the only jutsu he taught him that would be required for this amount. Minato, we need to get the academy now. Minato nodded and grabbed the third Hokage, only to flash to the top of the academy to witness this incredible scene. His son staring down the third's infamous fire jutsu with an intense look in his eyes. He looks almost exactly like Tobirama as a young man. But at the same time he looks so much like me, I have to do something. He went to intercept the deadly fire jutsu only to be stopped by Hiruzen and look wide-eyed at the sudden spike of chakra Naruto released. He watched his son clap his hands to form a typhoon of water out of thin air. That can't be, but that jutsu was Tobirama's. He should not have the necessary level of water manipulation for it. After the clash of the incredibly high ninjutsu battle, the steam coming from the jutsu was enough to cover the surrounding area. Two blurs met in the middle only to find themselves at an impasse. Damn, Huff, I thought I had you, Huff. Well, Huff, good fucking try, Huff. The steam cleared thanks to Hiruzen clearing it by a low-level wind jutsu. What they found shocked them. They were both hunched over, barely standing, but still held a weapon to each other's throats. Erasure was breathing heavily as he held a kunai to Naruto's neck while Naruto held a water sword to Arashi's throat. Well, looks like you win, man, was all Erasure could say before he fell backwards with a smile on his face, but before he passed out he said some parting words before chakra exhaustion got to him. That was awesome, we have to do that again, friend. Yeah, some other time then. Naruto dropped his water sword and began to walk away when he suddenly passed out, but instead of landing on the hard surface of the training ground he landed on someone else's back, and he swore he heard someone say he was proud of him. Minato could only smile, being swept up in the excitement of seeing his son's effort to be the best and his incredible potential. He flashed away after explaining to Irika and the rest of the class that he and Hiruzen were going to take them to the hospital to recover. That marked the beginning of a long 3-year rivalry in the academy between Erasure and Naruto, and they were an odd pair. Arashi's loud personality and great natural fire manipulation versus Naruto's cool personality and his incredible water manipulation led to some great fights over the years, as they seemed to be opposites, yet matched each other so well. Erasure, during his last year at the academy, decided to change his clothes to match his personality. He now wore a bright red t-shirt over a short-sleeved fishnet armor along with an open high-collared white jacket that ran down to his waist, and on the back of it was the Sarutobi clan symbol. He finished that off with a pair of standard blue ninja pants and blue sandals. Naruto had finally grown into Tobirama's old clothes, so he now wore a black long-sleeve shirt that had a large white fur collar around his neck along with his normal black pants with thin ninja pouches attached to the pants for easy access to his tools. Ai was blossoming into a young woman as she wore red armor that covered her torso, hips, and shins. The Senju heiress also had a navy blue, high-collared garment that draped over her shoulders and a matching knee-length skirt that had 2 large slits in both the front and back, covering the outer sides of her legs. Underneath she wore a tight black jumpsuit with blue arm guards and black traditional ninja sandals. Everyone else wore what they wore in Shippuden before the war arc. Finally, the academy was coming to a close as they were all now 14 and ready to go be Hidden Leaf Shinobi and Kunoichi. It was a long journey and a majority of the starting group had dropped out, leaving only the wheat from the chaff. Today was the day before the Genin exam, and nearly all the students in the classroom were excited to finally become ninja. It had been a long 7 years to get to this point, and no one wanted to repeat. However, for a certain Uchiha heiress, the exam was one of the furthest things on her mind, as she knew she would ace the test. She glanced over at Naruto, who was listening to Irika with his normal cool expression that never gave away what he was thinking at the time, and showed that he was always focused. She hated that look when she was younger, but now, thanks to her hormones, she could not help but get chills down her spine from those intense crystal blue eyes. Today is the day. Enough of this footing around. I'm an Uchiha. I take what I want when I want. So I will have him even if he does not want me to. Now that train of thought was getting her aroused quickly at the thought of dominating her rival/crush. She shook her head from her dirty thoughts as she had had enough of those and wanted the real thing. It was especially awkward when her mom first found her getting off in her bedroom. Mikoto was going upstairs to tell Satsuki that dinner was ready when just as she was about to knock on the door to get her attention when Mikoto heard strange noises from inside, so she thought Satsuki was in trouble. That could not have been further from the truth, as Satsuki's mind was swimming in pleasure as she was getting off to the photo of last year's top student, which was Naruto again, as he was standing under the shade of a tree with his ice blue eyes staring into the camera as the wind blew his blonde hair, as if he was watching her in her bedroom right now. She was too into it when Mikoto began to lightly knock on the door and was close to finishing as she dove deeper with her thin fingers and spat out the pillow she was biting on to avoid being heard. Oh, Naruto-kun, deeper Naruto-kun. She sped up and was now on edge and was chanting his name louder. Mikoto heard Satsuki moaning and she jumped to conclusions, thinking she was in pain. Mikoto burst through the door with her Sharingan blazing at full power, ready to send whoever was attacking her daughter to hell. Satsuki-chan. Are you okay? Mikoto's sudden yell quickly snapped her out of her pleasure and killed the mood faster than a kunai to the heart. Mikoto had very little time to react to the situation at time because Satsuki's reaction to her entering her room was immediate. Aksan, get out! Get out! Get out! Satsuki quickly tossed the picture of Naruto to the side and threw anything and everything at her mom and wrapped her partially dressed body in the covers of her bed. After throwing everything in arm's reach, she bawled into her covers, embarrassed out of her mind. To make matters worse, Itachi and Fugaka seemed to phase into her room at the sound of her screams. Ka-san? What's wrong with Satsuki Amoto? She immediately wanted to curl up and die when she heard her and Ai-san's voice. Mikoto was confused at first as well, but as soon as she saw the solo picture of Naruto on the floor and the way she found Satsuki, she quickly pieced together what was going on and felt a sudden blush fill her cheeks. She was embarrassed for Satsuki, as she could only imagine what it would have felt like if her family stumbled in her masturbating. Mikoto quickly ushered Itachi and Fugaka with an urgent tone, claiming it was women issues. At the sound of womanly issues, both men seemingly disappeared as fast as they arrived because the body functions for women were as mysterious as they were awkward to listen to. The last thing they needed to hear before dinner was their daughter/sister going through her period. Mikoto gently closed the door behind her and picked up the picture of Naruto off the floor and sat on the bed next to the curled-up Uchiha heiress. Well, he is quite the looker, Satsuki-chan. I mean, look at those sexy blue eyes, Mikoto said with a light tone as if to tease her daughter, and it worked as Satsuki swiftly emerged from the covers and swiped away the picture of Naruto and held it close to her. Ka-san, I was just It's fine, I think now is the best time to talk to you about certain things. One long conversation about boys later, and you are welcome. Satsuki had a deep blush on her face as she was going down the stairs to eat dinner with the rest of her family. As a majority was a blur, she kept one thing to heart that her mother said. An Uchiha's pride is not just limited to the battlefield, dear. It is also applies to love, as at one point I was in your position and I almost lost Fugaka-kun to my sister Akua-chan, but before she could make her move on him I quickly got him alone and made sure he knew my interest quite forcefully. Satsuki silently cringed again at the thought of her mother and father doing anything sexual together in her seat as she reran her plan again through her mind. She looked over to Naruto and balled her fists. You will be mine, not one of these weak fangirls, or even Ai-chan will get you. I promise on my Uchiha pride. Satsuki was mentally psyching herself up for her confession as Iruka guided everyone out of the classroom to review the necessary taijutsu katas for the exams. Satsuki slowly got up and stole Naruto's hard case book with all his notes for the exam. She then put them into her backpack and rushed after her classmates towards the sparring grounds. Hours later the school day ended and the class quickly left to get back home to review and get some late studying done. Erishur was waiting outside the classroom feeling quite nervous as AI was talking with Satsuki about how they were going to be official ninja. Yeah, I'm excited too. I think Erishur wants to talk to you, seeing how he is basically sweating a lake outside and keeps looking at you. AI quickly looked over to Naruto, waved and then left Satsuki in the classroom alone with Naruto, who was looking all around his seat for his notes. Damn it, did someone take my notebook? I knew I should not have left them out, and I should not be working on water jutsu theories in class for exactly this reason. Naruto stopped looking for his book when he felt a firm poke to his back. He turned to see Satsuki with his book extended to him, as she refused to look him in the eye with a clearly reddish tint on her cheeks. Why would Satsuki have my book? Did she want my notes for herself? No, she would have kept them, so why, dash. Naruto then took a closer look at Satsuki and recognized what she was doing, she getting him alone. It was not Naruto's first time being in this situation, as many girls had done similar things to get him alone, but he simply had no interest in any of them or getting in a relationship, so he usually just left immediately, but this was different. Naruto's normally cool demeanor was breaking as he looked at Satsuki closer and chewed his lower lip as if to fight off him, making him say something stupid. Naruto's blue eyes traveled along Satsuki's outfit, starting from her high black zip-up collar that covered all the way down to under her full C-cup breasts, ending at the top of her stomach, which was covered by an evil, at least to me, sleeveless fishnet armor. Along her arms were white arm bracers that tapered off just under her shoulder. He allowed his eyes to look further down to her white short shorts that were slightly visible through the slit in her black skirt that flowed down to a little past mid-thigh. He trailed down her cream white legs to the tight white leggings that went above her knees that made his pants a little tighter just thinking about seeing the rest of those sexy long legs and imagining them wrapped around him. He then could not fight off his hunger anymore. Looking back at this, Naruto would never figure out what caused this, whether it had been his Uzumaki blood or his hormones. He wrapped his arm around the small of her back, smothering her soft body with his firm chest. Meanwhile, as Naruto was looking her over, she tried to think of a way to confess to him like her mother told her, but stopped when she heard a low growl from Naruto, and she felt him pull her in and did not resist as she was too shocked to react outwardly other than to wrap her arms around his neck. Naruto lowered her high collar zipper just low enough to get access to the curve of her neck, and he deeply inhaled Satsuki's scent. Damn, had Satsuki always smelled this good? And Kami, her chest feels so soft. When she felt Naruto's nose brush against her neck, she tightened her grip around his neck, bringing him to bury his face deeper into her, causing her to gasp as his teeth grazed her neck as if Naruto was trying to eat her. She moaned out his name as Naruto was in heaven listening to his rival's whimpers in his ear, and it almost made him lose control. Is she releasing pheromones or something? He thought in a daze as he began to nibble on her smooth cream-white skin. He felt animalistic, raw and hungry for Satsuki, hungry for the flesh of his rival, and all logic flew out of the window when he heard Satsuki's melodious voice moaning his name. He ran his hands all over her narrow back and wide hips. Damn, I had no idea someone could be so soft yet firm at the same time, he thought as his hands gripped Satsuki's firm tight ass. Satsuki's mind was gone as Naruto played with her body, and she loved every antagonizing slow minute of it. She let out a cute squeak as Naruto's strong hands took a firm grip of her ass as if he wanted to rip it off her, making her get on her toes and close the little distance there was between their bodies. Feeling Satsuki's arousal against his right thigh, Naruto switched gears and took control of his raging hormones. When Naruto's hands left her, but she got worried. Maybe he didn't like it? She panicked when she felt him freeze. She didn't know whether she could be considered desirable or not, as she had always been a little more aggressive than most girls in her class. Is it because of my personality? Naruto pulled away from her neck while keeping her close to his chest, and Satsuki looked as if she was about to say something, but when she looked directly at Naruto's lustful eyes, any response died in her throat as his blue eyes told her all she needed to know. Take off your skirt but not your shorts, Naruto said in a low yet demanding tone while maintaining eye contact with her half-lidded coal eyes as it brought chills down her spine. Her shaky hands lowered her skirt, leaving her only in her white short shorts. He grabbed his hard-covered book on the nearby desk and brought her close to him while slowly sawing her nether lips with the book cover. He was going so slow that it was driving her crazy, and she began bucking her hips trying to either go faster or get it deeper in, but Naruto brought his arm around her hips using his superior strength to keep her in place as her knees quivered under his deep stare. Seeing her impatience, he slowly put his now wet notebook on the desk and told her what to do next. Now unbutton your shorts but don't take them off. She was trying to gather any form of pride to try to turn this around, even if it was just as a woman, but Naruto's immense presences made all resistance futile. She knew what Naruto was doing by forcing her to do everything. He was establishing dominance, and if she was honest with herself, she was too excited to even care. As long as Naruto would do this to her all the time, she would gladly be under him just like he wanted. Meanwhile, seeing her following his commands was far greater than anything than he expected. Fuck, I don't know how much longer I can keep this damn pace. I'm trying as hard as I can to not shake like Satsuki-chan. Naruto was fighting off not only his hormones but his overwhelming nervousness, as he had never done this before, and was struggling to maintain his strong stance and ignore the heavy breathing of Satsuki and the way her cute pink lips parted, waiting for his own to attack them. She finished unbuttoning her white shorts, revealing her dark blue panties that were now ruined by her excitement of this surreal moment. Naruto guided his hand toward the top of her panties and pulled on them, slowly dragging his fingers along her clean-shaven body down to her when he stopped. Please put them in me. Satsuki breathed out into Naruto's ear as her head was resting on the side of his neck, since she could no longer stand on her own as her knees were simply too weak. Okay, Satsuki-chan. He returned gently as he understood exactly what she was doing. She was granting him permission, unlike the other times where he demanded her to do these acts. He understood that at this point she was letting him do this even if he was overflowing with hormones. He would never force himself onto her if she was unwilling. He slowly inserted his index finger followed by his middle finger, and her gasped in pleasure. His fingers were much larger than her fingers, causing her to adjust to the larger digits. "You're so fucking wet down here. It's like you're trying to suck in my fingers. You're so naughty, Satsuki-chan. I think I will have to teach it a lesson." His dirty talk was working as she constricted even tighter around his fingers as she weakly tried to respond to the dirty talk, but the pleasure of Naruto's fingers exploring her was too much for her to form a sentence. He slowly curled his fingers into a come here motion and began to rhythmically stroke her G-spot. Satsuki was seeing white as his random stimulation was getting to her, so she easily missed when his arm left her hips. Naruto brought his other hand and lowered her shorts to where all of her panties were exposed. He softly laid his palm onto her pelvis, trying to find the area right above where his fingers were stroking her G-spot. "Satsuki-chan, come for me," he said in his familiar low demanding voice as he pressed down hard on her G-spot from both inside with his fingers and from the outside as he pressed his palm down on it. All her muscles suddenly tensed, and all she saw was white as she came hard on Naruto's fingers. As she fell down from her heaven, her body completely collapsed against Naruto, as she felt limp. Her world was slowly coming back together, as she felt Naruto slowly removing his fingers from her. "I love you so much, Naruto-kun. Even before this, you just had this strength that others just did not have, and it wasn't just your physical strength but your indomitable will that made me fall for you," she finished as she tried to pull herself together enough to look into his softening blue eyes. "Satsuki-chan," I before he was forced to say something. AI's loud voice was coming down the halls. "Satsuki-chan, where are you? Arashi-kun is taking us out for ramen." "Shit! AI can't see Satsuki-chan like this, especially with me here." Satsuki understood Naruto's sudden panic but felt too weak since this was first real experience, and it felt as if she just performed 5A rank jutsu in a row. "Naruto-kun, just leave me here, I will deal with her. See you tomorrow," she finished with a sad smile as Naruto could not hold back his worry leaving her so soon. His guilt was building, so he did what he could. He quickly redressed her and sat her down in a seat, making sure she looked as if she was sitting there the whole time. He propped her arm under her chin and opened his notebook to a random page to make it look as if she was studying. "Thanks, Naruto-kun, now go before Loudmouth finds you." He looked at her for a few more seconds before he silently shined back to the armory. "Oh, there you are. Why are still studying, and is that Naruto's notebook?" She slowly got up and stretched to get the blood flowing to her limbs and told her that he left it here and so she was going to see what was inside for extra studying. AI quickly agreed since the longer they were talking the longer she would be apart from her ramen. "Yeah, I plan to do some extra studying with this notebook." She followed AI and could not keep her torrent of emotions from running through heart, but thought that no matter what she was madly in love with Naruto, and that was all that mattered even if she had her doubts about why he did not respond to her heartfelt confession. Fuck. 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 Naruto was on a rampage in the training room of his armory as all the water in the room was moving around violently and crushing whatever Naruto's raging eyes were on. Fucking Senju. I mean, god damn it, she was so gone. Naruto stopped as he cried a river of tears at the thought of how wrapped around his finger she was. He stopped his train of thought and lay down on the floor looking up at the ceiling as he thought on Satsuki and what just happened. What am I really angry about? Was it the fact that she did not do anything for me? Was it the fact that we were interrupted? Or was it the fact about me unable to tell her I love her? Fuck me, I can't get caught up with her. I need my revenge, and that includes killing AI eventually, her best friend/sister. I can't have it both ways. However, Naruto's mind ran through that moment about what just happened. This way she felt so soft in her arms, her sexy whimpers egging him on to do whatever he wanted to her, the way she was desperately trying to finish but him controlling her to go at his pace. Fuck. I need to work this stress off. Naruto left the training room to do some stress relief, and then prepare for tomorrow's exam. He knew deep down that he was wrapped around Satsuki's finger just as she was around his, but he would have to try either to keep it a secret or ignore it for as long as he could until it burst. He slowly walked toward the academy looking around at the changing leaves on the trees around his armory. The leaves look great, but they just aren't the same anymore and eventually will lose their hold on the tree and be lost into the wind. Naruto inhaled the cooling autumn wind and sped toward the academy to finally become an official ninja. And one step closer to destroying them. When he finally entered the room, he threw his hand up to catch the incoming projectile, his notebook. "HN, don't look so lost though. You left your notes here yesterday. I guess you were just too worried about trying to beat me and AI-chan that I bet you even forgot to bring your kunai pouch." AI giggled at her friend's joke. Meanwhile, Erasure was cracking up at seeing his friend being humiliated as it was such a rare moment. Naruto refused to say anything like he usually did, but he slowly walked towards Satsuki while maintaining fierce eye contact that was bringing her flashbacks of yesterday. Damn it, what is he doing? Why is my heart racing already? He is just looking at me. After the intense private session, she could not get away from AI and Erasure fast enough to continue where they left off with his notebook. Naruto seeming knew this as he slowly got in front of her face and passed by her face, and whispered into her ear, making sure nobody could hear him other than Satsuki. You didn't happen to drop my notebook into a lake by accident, did you? 'Cause I think it's still wet from whatever you could have done to it. Satsuki brought her head to the desk, trying desperately to hide her blush as deep as she could into the wood. He lightly chuckled seeing her reaction and continued on to his seat and prepared to take the exam. The rest of the class could only speculate what he told her to make her react that way, but their musings were cut short as Irika walked into the classroom. Alright everyone, I just want to wish everyone good luck and I will start explaining the rules of the exam, beginning with Naruto could care less and just wanted to get this over with. The day came and went, as it ended with the final ninjutsu section. Naruto walked into the final exam room and Irika threw a kunai that phased right through him, revealing him to be a clone. The real Naruto was standing on an X on the floor and waited for the trio of kunai flying at him and substituted with the provided log in the room. Irika looked up from his huge stack of paperwork to see an angry fourth Hokage. Man, Naruto is good at henging. Alright, get out of here. I already know that if I ask you to do the 2 required personal jutsu you will ruin the room for the rest of the students. Naruto picked up the black banded head protector and walked out while Irika had some parting words. You know, when you first arrived to the class I thought you were going to be a horrible student just based on your reputation coming in. Just to let you know, I am happy that I had you as a student, and I hope you go far as a ninja. Naruto did not turn around to look at Irika but paused to listen and continued on his way when he was finished talking to him. Irika was yet another person that happened to worm his way into Naruto's heart as he saw him for him, not the demon child. The academy was amazing for him, where he felt as if he could do anything he wanted and was not judged like in the village. But that was then, and this is now. He went back to his armory to eat, train, and sleep to prepare to meet his new sensei. Finally he was a genin at last. Now it was time to shake the ninja world. Minato Senju was in his full Hokage robes as he peered into the third's glass orb, using the telescope technique to overlook the now genin students as they finished their exam. He was sitting in a small room surrounded by a few jonin that wished to become jonin sensei for a group of genin. Well, that's that we now have all the clan heirs becoming genin at the same time. So let us set up the teams, shall we? Hokage-sama, if I may, I wish to train the next generation of the legendary Ino-Shikacho combo, Asuma said first to get his preference before anyone else. Minato nodded, seeing that no one else really cared. Alright, we still have quite a few. Kakashi quickly put in his vote for AI Satsuki and Erasure. Hokage-sama, you can't seriously give him all of them? It would benefit all groups if they were separated. Kurenai quickly exclaimed, which surprised everyone seeing how vocal she was being. Kurenai, I am sorry, but Kakashi is the best to train them to their highest potential, seeing as how they are all gifted in the art of ninjutsu, whereas your specialties lie in genjutsu. Kurenai bit her lower lip and took a step back because she knew that Minato was right and she was out of line. Well, since that is settled, then you, Kurenai, will train Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka, and Hinata Hyuga. She nodded as she did not mind, as she wished to train Hinata originally, seeing as the only thing holding her back was her insecurities. Minato then took a deep breath as he thought on how to address the odd student out. Now, does anyone want to take Naruto Uzumaki as an apprentice? He knew he was asking a loaded question, seeing as no one really wanted to be associated as the teacher to Naruto, as even as the years passed it was more or less career suicide, as Naruto expressed a dark personality and was seen as powerful, which could lead him to lash out at his superiors in rank. Seriously, no one? You guys are too much, man. I'll take the Gaki then, Anko said as she slammed her hand on Minato's desk, getting everyone's attention. Anko, what have I told you about messing around with my desk? His eye twitched as he thought about the last time he found Anko on his desk. After Orochimaru's betrayal, Anko spent more time around Kushina as she saw herself in Anko. So Kushina decided to teach her own squad of Yugao, Anko, and Kurenai, as she gave them their own specialties: Kenjutsu for Yugao, Genjutsu for Kurenai, and Ninjutsu for Anko. They bonded well, but as Yugao went on her way to ANBU, Kurenai and Anko decided to eventually train their own apprentice. Though Yugao and Kurenai were close with Kushina, they did not embrace her silly personality as much as Anko. Anko tended to take it to the extreme, as the most recent prank with Kushina involved Anko waiting in Minato's office until he came back with Kushina, and as they were entering and making out she made herself known while making a sexy pose on his desk without her coat on. Kushina acted as if nothing was wrong and proceeded to ask if he was down for a threesome, and he passed out on the spot as his mind tried to process having his wife and her hot apprentice at the same time. However, He woke up later that day not to his loving wife and her sexy apprentice but in the middle of a male gay bar shirtless with single and ready to mingle written on his chest with a permanent marker. He ran out as fast as he could and was too embarrassed to remember the Haration. That day lived in infamy for Minato as he suddenly withdrew under his Hokage hat as if to mentally war against that particular memory. Apparently, Kushina was tired of his late hours and wanted him to know that if she was not getting any she would get the itch to prank him again, even worse. What did you say? Minato asked, confused as everyone in the room was silenced by what Enko had just said. Enko sighed and repeated that she wanted to train Naruto because she could see the great potential he had, and he just needed someone to draw him out of his shell. Well, okay, then you're dismissed. You will meet them tomorrow at 10, and Kakashi, if you show up late to my daughter's first day I will have you running solo D-ranked missions for a month. Kakashi shuddered at the thought, and quickly left the room along with the rest of the jonin in the room. Minato peered back into the looking glass once everyone had left. Naruto, who are you? Iruka stood in front of the classroom and delivered his final speech to the class before he told them team assignments. As of today you are all ninjas. To get here you face difficult trials and hardships, but that was nothing. What comes next will be far more difficult. Now you are only genin, first level ninjas. All the genin will be grouped into 3-man squads. Each squad will be led by a jonin, an elite ninja. Naruto looked up from his desk to find AI talking to Satsuki excitably on them being on a team while Erasure was crying mock tears as to why they were leaving him out of their team. AI-chan, you're breaking my heart. I thought you would want us to be together. AI stopped talking and smiled at Erasure. Of course I do. I would want to be on a team with both of my best friends. Arashi's smile only slightly faltered to where AI did not notice it, but Naruto did. Yeah, he knew about his friend's crush on AI ever since after that first day as they bonded after sparring as they were almost evenly matched. Naruto hated seeing him like that. He did not see what Erasure saw in her, but he just let Erasure talk since they seemed to be the only people who would listen to each other. Erasure may be a loudmouth, but he did not make close friends with the rest of their classmates. He and Naruto understood each other through their fists as Naruto could feel that deep inside Erasure was this lack of identity, but he never told Naruto why he felt that way. Erasure at the same time could feel the overwhelming sadness hidden within Naruto, and he wanted to know why, but as connected as they were to each other they simply were not close enough. Che, that bitch. Naruto looked away from that group and stared at Iruka to listen to the rest of the lecture, but slightly faltered at the large amount of killing intent hitting him like a heat wave. Satsuki was pissed, so pissed, in fact, that she almost turned on her 2-tomoed Sharingan just to glare holes into Naruto's skull. How dare he not even talk to me about what happened for 3 whole days? Naruto Uzumaki almost felt like whimpering from his seat as he could feel Satsuki ready to pounce on him like a tiger to rip his face off. Can he please see me through to the afterlife? I don't know what to say to her. How can she blame me? I don't even know what to do. Iruka indirectly saved him by continuing his speech. We want each squad to have a balance of strength and abilities, so that's how we set them up. I will now announce the squads. Iruka ran through the list as Naruto only caught the last few. Team 7 will be Erasure Sarutobi, AI Senju, and Satsuki Uchiha under Kakashi Hatake. Erasure and AI were cheering from their seats, whereas Satsuki had a small smile on her face knowing her team was the best possible team, while second best team. Team 8 will be Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka, and Hinata Hyuga. Team 9 is already a set team, therefore Team 10 will be Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Choji Akimichi. Now go forth and defend the village with your wills of fire. Naruto slowly pulled his head up from his desk to level a stare that could freeze hell over right at Iruka. Why do I not have a team? I did not spend 7 fucking years here not to be a ninja. Naruto was about to get up and be violent when Erasure stood up. Hey! Iruka-sensei, what about Naruto? He should be on a team. Naruto looked over at Erasure with a strange look. No one's ever defended me, not that I need it, but Erasure gave his own glare to Iruka, thinking that he not putting Naruto on a team was bullshit. Iruka looked sheepish as he looked over the sheets in his hand to find any notes on Naruto until he found a small sticky note on the last sheet. Oh, that is my fault. Naruto Uzumaki will be trained under Enko Mitarashi. Naruto had never heard of her but just hoped she was not going to try and stunt his growth. He did not have to wait long as a female figure broke through the room as a large drape covered the section where Iruka was standing and had on it the great Enko Mitarashi, the most kick-ass sensei around. Alright, which one of you brats is named Naruto Uzumaki? I'm going to be your sensei. Are you ready for the real genin test? Good. Now follow me. Enko finished with her fist in the air as if she was cheering herself on. Enko, Iruka meekly looked around the drape and told her that she was early. TSK, Iruka-kun, what have I told you before? It's not early, just being too soon. And it's Anko-sama to you, or do you not remember our lessons? Iruka suddenly blushed while Anko had a vicous smirk. Naruto could not fight off the growing disgusted expression on his face as his sensei was being whipped in front of the whole class, and he did not even fight back or deny it. Wow. Iruka-sensei lost a lot of points. I know I'll never bend to a woman's will. Che, what a joke. As Naruto finished that thought, he could not ignore the sudden chill down his spine, while Satsuki could not help but enjoy the scene unfolding in front of her and silently took notes along with the rest of the girls in the class. What worried all the males was the loud clicking sound of a pen amplified 10-folded as all the girls pulled out a notebook and started writing on their own small notebook. Naruto started to ask if they could go when he was shushed midway of asking a nearby girl who was still writing notes, while pushing up her glasses and taking a sip of her pumpkin spice latte. Honestly, I cannot go anywhere on campus without finding a girl with fake glasses and a pumpkin spice latte like WTF. The sound of scribbling ended, and after the sound of a multitude of pens clicking closed did Naruto begin to ask again if they could go. Anko just yelled out to follow her and sprinted out the window to land onto a nearby building with Naruto following right behind her. They stopped right in front of the forest of death and Anko began to speak. Okay, let's get the air cleared here. Obviously you can guess nobody wanted to train you, but do not think for one fucking second that I'm some chump jonin that got stuck with you. I asked for you specifically not because you were the #1 student or because of your potential, but because I can easily see how angry you are. Naruto could only ball his fist as his sensei said what he was thinking, but got angry at her because it was as if she was saying she understood him. You cannot possibly understand my pain. Naruto's glare came out at full force as Anko understood why he was glaring. She sighed and berated herself for being so blunt because it was not helping. I don't need you. I became this strong on my own and I will become even greater. So I'm going to train with the only person good enough to train me, myself. Naruto turned around and walked away when Anko suddenly attacked him, but it turned out to be a shadow clone. Anko felt a kunai to her throat and only chuckled. She grinded her ass on Naruto, and he could not help but weaken his grip on her. She took that opportunity to move the kunai away and lay a smack down on Naruto, whose taijutsu was useless against the infamous Hibi style, as Anko could be moving in a straight line while at the same time altering her centerline, preventing Naruto from getting into a rhythm. Damn, first Erasure and now her. My taijutsu is useless if my strongest opponents know how to beat it. Time to show her my true strength. The water dragon. Naruto backed off and charged the air around him to form water and held up the bird hand sign, slowly pushing his connected hands out aimed right at Anko. This is the difference between us. Water style, water dragon jutsu. Anko's eyes widened at the incredible sight of water from the air shaped into the form of a dragon, while Naruto simply used one hand sign. But that's impossible. That's an A-rank jutsu and requires over 40 hand signs. She could not think any further as the elemental dragon roared out and barreled toward her. Naruto walked toward the defeated and soaked form of Anko Mitarashi lying helplessly on the ground of the training ground. This is the difference between us. You could not possibly teach me anything other than how to be a slut. Naruto could not finish her monologue as he was suddenly dragged underground violently with only his head revealed. The Anko he was insulting poofed away, revealing it to be a shadow clone, while the real Anko right above him was completely dry with an extremely wide sadistic smile. However, that smile was not what worried him. It was the group of snakes hissing out ready to pierce his throat with their long fangs dripping in poison. Now what was that, Naruto-kun? Something about me just being a slut? Anko's face grew suddenly dark and came extremely close to his face. Say it. Say it again and I will have the smallest snake you can be squeezed in to eat you alive as you slowly are dissolved by its stomach acids. Naruto quickly shut up and shook his head no, which was as close as Naruto would get to begging for his life. Good, now I don't like you, but you are talented with ninjutsu. That's it, you would die out in the real world like the academy student you are. You have no taijutsu, no genjutsu, no self-restraint, and worst of all, you have a massive ego. We have a lot of work to do. Now get yourself out and we will start. You have a minute to get out or I send you back to the academy. I will be in the forest. Ja-na. She finished with a fake smile while she leapt away. Naruto smashed his head against the ground multiple times in penance of his foolishness. He concentrated hard and altered his form into water, briefly letting him escape easily. Damn, I am a fool. If I keep this talk up I won't live to get my revenge. Naruto leapt after Anko to begin his training as a genin. The sounds of timber cracking filled the air in a nearby training ground as Naruto was working on his physical conditioning through repeatedly hitting a training log. He seemed to come here a lot as it was isolated, and by the obvious dents in the wood it indicated his thousands of repetitions. It was another hot day in the fire country, so he took off his usual black long-sleeved shirt with fur collar. I mean, that thing is so hard to keep clean. Ugh, thankfully I can force all the sweat out of clothes but not the smell. It had been a couple hours after his humiliating defeat, so he needed something to let his rage out on, and as the sun began to set he was still angry at both his lack of his development, but also the ego he held on to thinking that he was ready to take on the world just cause he was the best at the academy. He delivered a powerful punch into the wood to find that his hand was bleeding. He sighed and rested his head against the training log and could not calm down his heart. Damn it. Damn it. I couldn't beat a Jonin. I can barely beat Erasure. How can I even think of beating him? A flash of Minato with a giant Rasengan inches away from his face as he was willing to kill himself in that moment flooded Naruto's mind. Damn it, damn it. Naruto held his head against the wood as he cried silently while he smashed his fists into the wood, ignoring the pain and blood as the pain of weakness was far greater. I will never be strong enough with my bloodline alone. What I'm lacking? Hatred. Naruto could not bring himself to argue with his darker thoughts as he continued to punch the training log. He was slowly putting more power behind the punches and felt the anger he had at the Senju providing extra strength to his punches. He was slowly grinning like a madman as he ignored the pain and accepted the numbness of hatred. Where there is hatred there cannot be anything else in your heart, even pain. I just need to embrace this power, there is no reason for me not. Naruto-kun, please stop. Just stop. Naruto could hear Satsuki's plea as he slowed down his punches. As he slowed down he began to feel the world around him come back into view. He could see his ruined hands, the thin arms around his stomach as if they were trying to pull him away, and most of all he could feel Satsuki's tears on his back. Satsuki-chan. Naruto slowly pulled her arms away and turned to the tear-filled face of Satsuki Uchiha. It shoved a nail in his heart seeing her like that, so he removed his bloody bandages and wrapped her up in a hug. Hey, it's okay. I'm sorry, I just was lost. Satsuki sniffled her into Naruto's chest as she spoke. I was so angry at you from ignoring me, so I looked all over for you to yell at you. But when I saw you hitting that training log I almost attacked you on the spot until I noticed you were crying. Then you. Satsuki dove deeper into Naruto's chest as she felt scared. You just kept punching and punching, letting your hands break, and you just smiled, Naruto-kun. Naruto held her tighter as he cursed himself for showing Satsuki his rage and hatred getting the best of him. The thought of losing Satsuki from his hatred scared him the most. He never opened his heart to anyone. What started in the schoolroom was just a couple horny teenagers, but by the end he felt something more. Nothing was added to me, I was connected with her at that moment. That's why her pain hurts me as well. I don't know what to do except try not let her get hurt. I need to end this here, she can't join me on this path that I have before me. Naruto loosened his grip on Satsuki as he took in a deep breath to do something he would regret in order to do what he needed to. Satsuki-san. I don't think. Naruto stopped as Satsuki's head came up so quick and her now 3-tomoed Sharingan told him he would die painfully if he finished that sentence. You will not break up with me over this shit. Satsuki nailed him right in the stomach and followed with a thunderous backkick to his face. Naruto could feel his nose bleeding and the sharp pain in his back as he hit the log really hard. Before he could get up, Satsuki straddled his waist and bit his shoulder hard enough to draw blood. H. Satsuki stopped and looked up with tears in her warm coal eyes. Please don't leave me, she whimpered out. She looked away in shame. I know that I am not the most feminine or the best looking and I'm pushy and... She could not get any more words out as Naruto gently pulled her chin towards him and kissed her gently. Satsuki's eyes widened before she closed her eyes and melted into the kiss. After a while Naruto tried to get his tongue into her and Satsuki would not let him, so he pinched her ass and she squeaked, which allowed Naruto to enter, but only for a moment as Satsuki immediately pulled away. Naruto, what are you trying to do? Satsuki was beginning to doubt that he cared for her and was only trying to use her. Do you even care about me? Naruto just looked at Satsuki, just lost as he did not know what to say. I am just doing what I instinctively feel. How am I supposed to handle this? Satsuki-chan, I don't know how to treat you like the Heim you are to me. I don't know how to outside of using my body to express this to you. Satsuki was bright red as she heard Naruto's compliment, and especially the thing about using his body to treat her like a princess. She shuddered as she imagined Naruto doing her every whim. That's my problem as well. Sigh. I don't really know how to be romanced, but we are moving too fast and... Satsuki looked at Naruto's confused blue eyes as he truly was simply a teenager that was trying to be the right man but did not know how. It's so sweet that he thinks of me that way and he really wants this to work out. Damn, why can't I think about how normal frilly girls do this? Satsuki made a cute pouting face as Naruto tried so hard not to take her right then and there when he stopped himself. Fuck, this is a lot of work. I mean, why can't I just... Naruto began to grind himself under her, trying to please both of them at the same time when Satsuki instantly wrapped a hand around his throat, suddenly choking him, forcing him to stop really quickly. Satsuki turned her fully matured Sharingan on and came close to his face, but Naruto was doubting it was for another gentle kiss. You said I was a princess, well then you are going to treat me like one. She tightened her grip around his throat as she continued. I like sushi, so you will take me out later tonight and show me how much you want me without this. She grinded her butt on Naruto, teasing him, but Naruto could not enjoy it as Satsuki refused to let go of his throat. 8 tonight, don't be late. She got off and noticed that Naruto had a bulge in his pants, so she decided to be extra cruel. She slowly turned around and walked away from Naruto while she made wide hip movements, drawing him into her sexy swaying movements before she disappeared via Shunshin. Satsuki's Shunshin blew the bloody bandages from Naruto's moment away into a nearby bush. Now sitting in the training ground was a sweaty, shirtless, and aroused Naruto, who was speechless at what just happened. That went so differently than I thought it would go. Fucking hell, she has a hell of a grip. Naruto was rubbing his neck, trying to remove the phantom pains in his neck. After a while he realized what was going on as he noticed what just happened. I just got whipped. Hell, she just demands shit and leaves me still hard, like what the fuck. Naruto just sighed and went over to pick up his shirt that was lying on the side of the training ground. As Naruto slid his shirt on, he could not help but smirk. Damn, I don't know how she does it. She can be so ruthless one moment and a tease the next. She is driving me crazy. I don't know if she is an angel or a demon in disguise. Naruto looked up at the sun to see he had a couple hours to get ready and find a sushi place for them. Oh shit! Naruto quickly ran away from the training ground and headed towards the armory to get ready. In his wake were the bloody bandages that tumbled out of the bushes, only to be stopped by the ruined training log that almost looked like a shrine as the sunset let darkness fall upon them. Those bandages would not be moving on as that log would hold on to them for the whole night. Satsuki arrived in her room via Shushin and was trying to calm her rapidly beating heart as her thoughts went back to that kiss. I had no idea I had that in me. What was I thinking, choking him like that? But that was so hot. Satsuki was lost in her own world when she heard Mikoto coming into her room. Satsuki-chan, it's almost time for dinner. Are you even listening to me? She looked at her mother and then flopped onto her bed, trying to shake the mental image of what just happened. Until she remembered what her mother just said. Ka-san, what did you just say? Mikoto just reminded her of how they were going to celebrate her success as a genin today with a large dinner. Dinner? Oh crap. Satsuki flew off her bed and ran straight into her closet, turning her Sharingan on as she threw clothes out like a boat engine, spewing out water, causing Mikoto to drown in all her daughter's clothes. Oh. Where are you? Satsuki was searching her closet for something specific as Mikoto was lost as to why she would be acting like this for a family gathering. Satsuki-chan, what are you looking for and why are you doing this? Satsuki slowly pulled herself out of the closet with some tears threatening to fall. Ka-san, I just want to go on this stupid date with Naruto-kun, but I don't know where the dress Ai-chan and I picked out. Mikoto could only smile at her daughter as she was reminded that even though she was a kunoichi, she was still an inexperienced teenager. Oh Satsuki-chan, Mikoto began to cry fake tears. Oh, you already going to leave your poor Ka-san, Tur-san, and Nai-san for a boy? My heart just can't take it. Satsuki could only sigh in anguish as her mom was not helping her at all. Mikoto stopped after a while and told her that she knew where her dress was, so she left and got it for her. Satsuki ran to get another shower to clean up and be ready for Naruto, but could not help but fear how the date could go. How much trouble could this be? How can this be so hard? Naruto was pacing around the armory trying to think of what to wear, how to act, where to go to eat, what not to do. Basically, Naruto had no idea how to handle this. I don't know, just TSK. Shit, well, I am just going to treat her like a princess. Fuck, what was I thinking? I don't even know how to treat a girl in general, and here I am struggling to even get my shit together. Naruto tried to think of anyone who could help him until a happy brown-haired boy jumped into his head. Ugh, Erasure. Well, at least he should know something, right? Naruto left the armory and dashed to the Sarutobi district. He arrived shortly to a humble ranch house surrounded by a grove of trees where a few monkeys were swinging about having fun. Naruto reached the door and knocked tentatively. When no response came, he turned around and began to berate himself for coming out here. The door opened to Erasure wearing pajamas, and around his mouth were loose pieces of rice that were stuck there thanks to the rice ball in his right hand. Naruto! What are you doing here, man? Erasure was extremely surprised to see Naruto here, as all the times they spared over the years there was only one time he was at his house when Naruto basically had to deliver him here as he was too exhausted to walk from his killer jutsu. Naruto gave a deadpan expression and then pointed to his mouth. Erasure looked confused for a second until he quickly wiped his mouth clean. Naruto started talking about how he was going out on a date, but before he could say with whom, Erasure had already wrapped his arm around Naruto's shoulder and talked his ear off about how he came to the right man. Naruto, my friend, don't worry about it. I will make sure you sweep this blind girl off her feet. She is not blind, Erasure. Erasure looked shocked. You mean she saw your ugly face and still wanted to go out on a date with you? Incredible. I would never. Erasure was now eating the floor as Naruto delivered a swift blow to his ex-classmate. He sighed and reiterated how he had very little time before he had to go. Erasure got up and told him he was going to teach him all he knew since he was a pro. Is AI still not your girlfriend yet? Erasure slumped and just dragged a chuckling Naruto through the estate, mumbling how it was so hard to get her attention and other nonsense. Naruto was nervous as he approached the Uchiha clan estate and was mentally running through all the tips Erasure gave him. Naruto looked down at himself to make sure he was clean and checked the bouquet of flowers in his hands. Okay, her house is the biggest one on the right. Oh, here it is. Okay, don't fuck this up, Naruto. Naruto approached the door before he felt a sudden influx of chakra enter his own and sighed, letting the genjutsu begin, thinking it was some Uchiha test. That bastard is late. When I get my hands on him. Satsuki was getting angrier as time went by past 8 until she felt multiple bursts of chakra outside her house. What she found made her laugh. Naruto was standing in the middle of the street knocking on an imaginary door and bowing to no one while talking to the air. Fugako-sama, you look so good. I mean, your daughter looks hot. Wait, I am. Naruto felt a gentle hand on his shoulder as he was broken from the genjutsu. Satsuki was giggling at his suddenly confused face. What, never been in a genjutsu before? Naruto shook his head and was saying he was looking for Satsuki Uchiha, not for such a beautiful raven-haired princess. Satsuki blushed but hit him on the head for being such an idiot. Ugh, damn, she still hits hard. Thanks for the tips, Erasure. That was sarcasm if you could not tell. Naruto gave her the flowers and Satsuki smiled, saying that it was thoughtful of him. She quickly put them inside and rushed them out of the Uchiha district, only to see a fully armored out Itachi cleaning his tanto slowly. Satsuki broke away from Naruto, who was just staring at Itachi with his ice blue eyes glaring into emotionally empty coal eyes. An ISN. Come on, stop trying to scare Naruto, and I know you were the one that put him under that genjutsu. She pouted at her older brother as his staring contest was broken with Satsuki's yell. Itachi just smiled and waved his hands as if he did not do anything. He then poked her in the head and told her to stay safe. As he walked by Naruto, he had something completely different to tell him. If you ever lay a hand on my little sister, I will not hesitate to end your life. Itachi whispered into Naruto's ear while making sure to show the slowly spinning Sharingan death stare. Naruto leaned right back and told him his own piece. Do not confuse my kindness with your sister as weakness. Naruto had formed multiple water saban out of the air behind Itachi's neck within only moments of his statement without a single hand sign. He smirked and leaned away from the kunai pointed at his kidney. Besides, I already had my hand deep inside her already, and she did not seem to mind at all. Naruto swept Satsuki off her feet and shined away faster than Itachi's explosive clone could kill him. Itachi came out of a nearby alley to pursue when he felt his mother's glare. Itachi-kun, if you follow them I will burn all your Pocky and even those you hide in your not-so-secret stash. Itachi quickly leapt back into the house, fearful of losing his month's supply of delicious Pocky. The couple reappeared in front of Ninjaro's sushi house and Naruto put her down while heading towards the door. As he was about to enter when he remembered something. Now when you get to the restaurant, make sure you open the door for her, not yourself. Be considerate, not like you know what that means, you team. Naruto opened the door, letting her walk in front, letting his eyes follow her in that black dress she wore as she walked inside. Damn, I should act like a gentleman more often. They were served and eating when Naruto realized that they have not talked to each other the entire time. Erasure said to make casual conversation, but honestly that is not like me. Whatever. Satsuki isn't like any other girl I know, so I will talk about what we both know. He pushed a couple rolls out of the way and tried to bring up a conversation. He coughed, making Satsuki to look up from her sushi and thank Kami that this silence was being broken. So you recently got your third tone for your Sharingan. Naruto felt stupid as he brought up an obvious point. Oh, I had no idea. I will make sure to train more then. Naruto took a couple more rolls in his mouth before he stumbled upon a good talking point. So how is it being on a team with Erasure, AI and that new sensei? That got her going as she talked all about the bell test and Erasure trying to impress AI by getting a bell for himself and her, but how in the end they failed to get a bell when Kakashi used his Sharingan. It was like he was going as hard as he need to, because I noticed how he would go slower for Erasure and me, but he would try much harder when AI-chan went at him, so I brought us together to bring him down only to wipe the floor with us. Crazy thing was Erasure just kept going up even after the alarm went off, which got him tied to a training log. She continued her story about how they shared their food and passed the test. She then asked about his sensei, and he only told her about how crazy she was and how he thought she had a snake fetish. Satsuki giggled at that while Naruto cracked a small smile hearing her cute giggle and seeing her so happy. I would do anything to keep that happy look on her face. Eventually the night ended and they left the sushi house. As they were walking back to the Uchiha district, Naruto could hear the whispers of the villagers just like that time when he was 6. He subconsciously began to infuse the air around him to convert it into water until he saw Satsuki shiver. "What's wrong, Satsuki?" he asked, with his previous rage at the villagers gone. Satsuki just looked up at him, saying nothing, but Naruto noticed her rubbing her exposed arms, trying to brush away the cold of the fall night. "Here." Naruto gave her his jacket but refused to look at her, as if he was ashamed of handing over his things to help her. "Thanks," she replied in a quiet voice, as she was not used to this kindness from Naruto, where he would not benefit from it. The rest of the trip was quiet as they enjoyed the lights and people of the village at night. When they got in front of her house, Naruto felt like he should say something. "Satsuki-chan, I had a good time tonight. I want to do this again." Satsuki nodded but felt a little awkward. "This is where we kiss, right? I don't know, we did it once but that time was different." Naruto picked up on her hesitation and could not wait any longer to kiss her soft lips. "Satsuki-chan," he dipped his head lower and led her lips toward his when bright floodlights suddenly went on to the almost kissing couple. "Funny story. This actually happened to me after a school dance. I almost jumped, lol." The pair broke apart as the overwhelming light ruined the mood. "Satsuki, what were you going to do with him?" The door opened to an angry Uchiha clan leader outfitted in his full police chief gear with Itachi behind him, slowly cleaning his tanto again. "Tusen, I was Naruto, tell him." She hid behind Naruto as he was lost for words at this weird scene. "We were yeah, I really don't know if any of Arashi's tips would help me here." "Fugaku, I swear to Kami, if you don't turn off those damn lights and stop ruining Satsuki's first date, you won't be able to even enter the house for a week." Mikoto was charging at the father and son duo with a large pan in hand, ready to crack some skulls. Meanwhile, Satsuki shrunk further into Naruto's back. "Well, there goes my tough kunoichi image. My family is so embarrassing." Naruto could not handle this family moment and started to walk away. "I'm leaving," he said in his default emotionless tone. As he was heading out, Satsuki could feel her heart breaking seeing him leave. She tried to call out to him, but felt the words die in her throat, so she sprinted by her family with tears in her eyes, thinking that he was leaving her for good because of her family. She ran up the stairs and slammed her door closed. Fugaku felt terrible for ruining his daughter's first crush. Meanwhile, Mikoto was ready to cry herself, feeling like it was all her fault and that Satsuki would never forgive her. In her room, Satsuki was wrapped under the covers and crying into her pillow when she heard someone enter her room. "Leave, please." Satsuki bawled even deeper into her bed and sniffled, trying not to cry. Naruto was standing at the edge of her bed looking at the once fierce kunoichi, his rival, and now girlfriend, crying, thinking he left her permanently. "Damn it. I had no idea she would act like this. I just said I was leaving. Do I really mean this much to her?" Naruto bit his lower lip hard, trying to ignore the overwhelming feeling of both happiness and sadness filling his heart. "I am not alone anymore. I can't just leave and disappear anymore. I matter. I am not just a thing on the shelf to be ignored." He slowly walked over to her side of the bed and squatted down, only to start stroking her hair gently. Satsuki peered out of her sheets to see Naruto's caring blue eyes and gave him a small smile, only to stop and go back under the covers. "I thought you left me." Naruto slowly pulled back the covers and wiped away the tears streaking down her face. "I would never leave you, not for anything. Plus, I think you owe me a goodnight kiss." Satsuki chuckled lightly and they began to kiss. They laid on the bed, Naruto on top of Satsuki, as their lips did not separate for a single moment. Satsuki's arms kept themselves wrapped around tightly his neck as Naruto settled to holding her closer at the curve of her back. The kiss went on for some time as they had completely ignored everything else that was happening and just concentrated on the feeling of each other's lips. Satsuki felt her fingers start combing through his spiky blonde hair as his hands started rubbing up and down her back. Naruto was slightly surprised as Satsuki decided to take the next leap and opened her mouth. He eagerly accepted the invitation and began to greedily take her tongue with his own. Their tongues began to dance around and they both moaned as the warmth of their bodies melded together. Naruto was lost in the feeling of her soft, warm body pressing tightly into his and wished that this would not end. However, Kami was a cruel mistress as the door creaked open, revealing a very placid Mikoto going to try and comfort her daughter, only to find someone else beating her to the punch. She could see, thanks to the light of the full moon, her daughter and Naruto heavily making out and moaning. She quickly squeaked and closed the door as her face flamed up. Why was Fugaku-kun never as romantic as him? After a few more moments, their mouths separated and revealed a line of saliva between them. They were panting heavily as Naruto lifted himself to look down at Satsuki's gorgeous form. Naruto's eyes hungrily traced her perfect body, starting with her small slender hands, long neck, perfect shoulders, nice pair of C-cup tits, narrow waist which flared out perfectly into her firm plump ass, finishing with her firm long legs that Naruto's eyes could not pull away from. His eyes met hers as they were both cloudy from being so lost in the moment. Naruto took a deep breath as he tried to regain himself, as he did not want to go any further and lose the one thing in his life that made him feel wanted. Satsuki-chan, we should stop here. Satsuki looked disappointed and was about to argue when she heard the loud sounds of her father running up the stairs with loud clanging noises one could only assume were kitchen utensils trying to stop him. Before I leave, I almost forgot to give you something. Naruto rolled up his sleeve to reveal a small sealing array on his left shoulder. He pushed some chakra into the seal, which made a small scroll to appear. He slid off her and sat on the side of the bed with Satsuki sitting right next to him. Here, I thought I would get you a gift for you know everything. She took the scroll from his hand and opened it to reveal another sealing array. Naruto looked nervous as the smoke cleared to a set of leg weights. I know it's not jewelry or something pretty, but they are really useful. I improved them by making the weight equal to the amount of chakra that is pumped into it. You don't have to worry about constantly charging them, as they have their own locking mechanism that can be easily broken when you need to take them off. You just have to. Satsuki pulled Naruto into a quick kiss and told him that she loved them. This will definitely help my training. You really are thoughtful, Naruto-kun. He slightly blushed at the compliment and rubbed his head like Erasure when he got embarrassed. He stopped himself from getting flustered as he knew that he had to go. Satsuki-chan, I will see you tomorrow, okay? She nodded and thanked him again for the gift. The last thing Naruto wanted to do was leave her, but he knew any minute Fugaku and possible Itachi would storm into the room, so he left with a small smile on his face. Thank you, my Haim. Satsuki blushed and flopped onto her bed, exhausted from the day she had. What a day. Ugh, we have training early tomorrow, don't we? At least tonight I will sleep well. The room's door blew off the hinges as Fugaku and Itachi were in their Sharingan blazing, only to find Satsuki soundly sleeping, too tired to deal with her family right now. Naruto slowly walked down the street, noticing how the businesses were shutting down around him. It's not that late, is it? He continued walking, pretending not to notice the small three-man squad watching him from the rooftops until they dropped down in front of him. You know a real ninja strikes when he is not expected to. Naruto coolly said as he leaked out his churka into the cold night, trying to prepare for the upcoming fight. Shut up, as if we need to hide from you. I can't believe Hokage-sama allowed the demon to be a ninja. Well, thankfully we will rectify the situation, right guys? The other two cheered behind him, readying themselves to take the demon out. Well then, come at me with your will of fire. Watch as I drown your flame in the torrents of the Uzumaki. Geez, I really need to work on my lines. They raced towards Naruto as two of them ran along the sides of the building while the one in the middle sprinted toward him with a pair of kunai. Naruto stood calm as he quickly put his left arm into the air with his palm flat as if he were holding something. Water slowly concentrated into a large orb above his hand from which many sharp water whips emerged from. Water style, water dragon whip. He stated as calmly as if he were talking about the weather. The two Chunin had no chance of escaping the multitude of whips that quickly sped to their positions along the wall. They soared into the air thinking they escaped, but the whips followed and slammed into their stomachs, making them groan out in pain before they were wrapped up by the water whip and thrown viscously into the ground. The leader thought quickly and used his own jutsu. Earth style, falling earth spears. He roared out, forcing stone from the ground into spikes that protrude from the ground in order to skewer Naruto. He, however, simply jumped up, letting the immense orb of water to fall to the ground, flooding the street. Naruto stomping on the water beneath him, which forced the water under the leader to explode up. What? The Chunin was surprised to see Naruto above him with what seemed to be a large whirlpool surrounding his arm. You chose the wrong opponent. I win. Water style, hardened water drill. Naruto jabbed the roaring whirlpool drill straight into the stomach of the Chunin that made the mistake of attacking him. He was sent spiraling down to the ground with incredible force as the ground beneath him ruptured, forcing him to only stare wide-eyed at the amount of power in the technique. He coughed out a large amount of blood as his body was experiencing large amounts of internal bleeding thanks to the powerful close-range jutsu. What he did not fail to notice was the fact he was lying next to his other barely conscious teammates. Hurry up and end us, you demon, he said weakly, coughing more blood up. Naruto was more than happy to, so he formed 3 water spears floating in the air, held only by his raised arm, waiting for the signal to skewer the 3 Chunin. He lowered his arm and the 3 water spears followed until he was flooded with images of the past night. Satsuki defending him from Itachi, her smile, her tears, her love. If I do this, I might lose the only person that cares for me. I would never leave you, not for anything. Plus, I think you owe me a goodnight kiss. Even revenge? Even at the cost of my goals?